Hello and welcome to the One About Podcast, the show where we talk about things that create internet controversy each week. This week, we are once again traveling to a galaxy far, far away as we dive into what is quite possibly the most beloved Star Wars film of all. This is the One About Star Wars, Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. I am your host, Dean. I also go by EndlessCola in places around the internet, and I'm joined this week by the Han Solo to my Tauntaun, Jordan, and Mr. I Know More About Star Wars Than You, Matt. How's it going this week, guys?
By default, I guess.
I mean, it's
By
true.
default.
Wait, so does that mean that I kill you? Because Han definitely...
Every day of my life, man. I feel like you take a ripping hot lightsaber to my stomach every single day.
If that's
you smell
not
worse
love,
on the inside.
If that's not love, do. I don't know what is.
So this week, we're going to skip the casualties and jump straight into this because, as I was telling you guys earlier, I have more notes about this than any topic we've done thus far. I have a shit ton of notes.
It's a hell of a movie.
So many so that I don't know that I'm going to get to them all, but I do want to lead with this. I think this movie might have jumped over episode 4 for me in terms of which one I like more.
I think this is the best one. I do think episode 5 is my favorite, followed by Rogue One is my second favorite, actually, but I think episode 5 is my favorite.
Can I weigh in?
I think most people would agree with you. Yeah, of course.
By and large, episode 5 is the most popular Star Wars movie of all time. That being said, for me personally, it wasn't my favorite. I thought it was the most boring one when I was a kid. But when I grew up and watched them all, it is the best for a myriad of reasons. And I mean, just it is good. I always liked Return of the Jedi the most, and I always like kind of a tie between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi because A New Hope, this for the same reasons as you guys from the last episode. My dad got me into Star Wars. It was the only Star Wars movie we even owned up until I was like 9. So I had watched A New Hope 30 million times before I even knew that there was another Star Wars out there. You know, this is crazy.
Yeah, dude, that's actually really similar to my experience. Like I've definitely seen episode 4 way more than any of the other movies.
Did you guys ever have like your toy blasters or toy lightsabers and watch the movies and like play? Like I specifically remember
I actually got an
them...
ass whipping.
Right.
I actually got an ass whipping because I like hit my dad with one of my toy lightsabers one time when I was watching this shit.
Yeah, sounds legit.
I watched them back to back when I was a kid. I didn't like focus on one of the movies. We had the VHS trilogy, so
nice.
I got to watch them all back to back.
We got that later. Definitely we got that later. So we had 2 A New Hopes because we had the fucking one and then we had the trilogy.
Yeah, dude. Like I'm pretty confident with as big as a sci-fi nerd as my dad was. He had the original trilogy on VHS before the special editions. But like I was saying before, like I just don't remember.
Oh, I have a question.
If I have seen if I had seen the original trilogy before the special editions, I have no recollection of them at all anymore.
They don't touch 5. Like Lucas doesn't do too much to 5. I don't remember any major edits to this one that he messed with, you know? There's no like cantina scene. Yeah.
Yeah, like this one didn't. Like, what is he gonna do? Like, randomly put a whole farm of Tauntauns on?
There's no time. This movie has incredible pacing. Every second, something awesome is happening.
My favorite part, I think, is how Darth Vader is constantly promoting people by killing somebody.
Dude, that was one of the notes I took. I was like, this motherfucker. I was talking about on the episode about episode 4. How he just like indiscriminately kills that guy at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. He kills like 3 guys in this movie just because he can.
3 ranking admirals.
Yeah, like not that. And that was one of the other things that I noted because you were saying, Jordan, how you thought maybe Vader just had a ton of respect for Tarkin. Clearly not, because he's just killing fucking everybody.
Well, I think Tarkin's the exception. I do.
Tarkin
think
was close with Palpatine, and Palpatine basically gave Tarkin an unkillable status because Tarkin was so valuable. He was a ranking officer in the Republic, and his war efforts were so prestigious and known, and he was so close with Palpatine that he was almost higher ranking to Palpatine than Darth Vader was. So Tarkin was untouchable. He really was.
See,
He was
this
Grand
is why
Admiral.
we should have had Matt on the first Star Wars episode.
So
Like that was a
he's
mistake.
he's an encyclopedia, man. I'm telling you, Matt knows his shit.
I just read and YouTube everything, but you have to have me on the Revenge of the Sith one because I have the coolest story about my first viewing of Revenge of the Sith that I guarantee is the coolest thing ever, and you just got to hear it.
I look forward to that.
Dude, I'm gonna try and get you on every Star Wars episode that we
Mhm.
do from this point forward.
I would love to be. I would absolutely. I mean, Tabitha's not gonna love it, but I'd love to be on it.
So, so just kind of like backtracking to the beginning of this movie. Did anybody else get caught off guard when they call Luke Commander Skywalker? Like this motherfucker
Well,
did one thing and now he's a commander in the rebellion?
He destroyed a Death Star, bro.
Yeah, there's
he destroyed the Death Star, but that's one fucking thing, dude. Like you just become a commander because you destroyed one ship?
I don't know. He is a Jedi. He could have tricked him. I mean,
like he went from a fucking nobody to a commander. Literally a fucking nobody on a desert planet in the middle of East Jesus nowhere.
Why is Han Solo when did he become a general? I don't think he was a general at that point, but I know he's known as General Solo in Return of the Jedi, right? They call him General Solo.
Yeah, I don't know when that shit
he
happened.
bumped up ranks like a motherfucker too. You know,
dude, the rebellion's just handing out military ranks like
you
candy
have to
and
imagine how small they are compared to the Empire. You know, people die. I mean, here's a note I made, and it's pretty far down the list on my notes, but when Dak died, I know he was a nobody, but like
immediately.
Like immediately, just from the smallest little thing, and I mean, who knows? He could have went on to do great fucking shit, but
I do want to talk about that when we get to it because I thought it was kind of funny how he died. But the beginning, the scroll, I thought it was kind of weird. In correct me if I'm misremembering, but in the scroll in the fourth movie, they talked about the resistance as rebels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in this one, they specifically called them freedom fighters. Like I think the scroll of all three movies, they just refer to them as different things.
Well, at the same time, they don't want to be. I don't think he wanted to reuse the same terms, and I think freedom fighter, rebel, and resistance is along the same lines enough to where it sounds like if you're an author to a book and you're writing a story and you don't want to keep saying the same word over and over again because it's like just bad writing, you know. So he was probably just conscious of that, and that's really high school essay writing kind of thinking too, you know.
That's true. I don't know if that's what he was actually going for, but that's a good point.
That's how I justify it.
That was kind of what I thought about. So
get into it.
One of the other things that that like this is a little bit further into the movie, but like one of the things that really stuck out to me is Han Solo's character, because like you would think after the end of A New Hope, he would be this more like righteous individual who's all gung ho with the rebellion, given how quickly he turns that corner in at the end of episode 4. But then at the beginning of episode 5, he's right back to the same shit. Like, this is suicide. I'm fucking out of here, guys.
Well, how come he never went immediately and paid Jabba off with his medal money? Or maybe he didn't have any money. I mean,
I don't think they paid him.
Probably
and
right.
also, so speaking to that, I made a note of it and actually why he acted this way. So it was a part where Leia and him were talking in a corridor when they first were kind of flirting back and forth, which Han is super pushy. But
dude, I made so many notes about how uncomfortable he is.
So
I was like,
pushy.
Dude, you would never get away with this movie in 2020,
but
dude.
The 80s were a rapey time for cinema.
Dude, when he storms away and he's like, "You could use a good kiss," I was like, "Oh shit!"
And that was
what he wanted to say, but he couldn't.
Back then, that was like really PG. You know, it was.
Yeah. And nowadays, it's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
he mentions in that hallway scene when he's talking to Leia, she's like, "Why are you leaving? Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "After that bounty hunter found me on Ord Mantell, he, I realized that,
Scared him.
Yeah, it scared him. So, there's a whole nother part that happened between 4 and 5, and I wondered, I'm sure there's a comic or something."
My thing though is like I read that scene. I know what you're talking about, but I read that scene more like he's just making some shit up so he can bail. Like
No,
it
I
didn't
think
ring true to me when he said that.
I think he legitimately, because you got to think of the time between the movies isn't just like a couple of days; it could be months or years. I think he legitimately ran into a bounty hunter. Now, whether he's actually concerned or not is like I'm sure it was legitimate. They ran into a bounty hunter. He's probably used to that. Whether it legitimately scared him or not, or if that was just an excuse, is up in the air. But I want to get to the Yeti scene for a second. Luke is a much Luke sensed Luke did not sense a Yeti coming. His Tauntaun sensed it. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Like this big fucking wampa.
He's like, what up, girl? He's like, you see something, girl? And then he gets took out immediately.
He just got decked in the face, bro. I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Immediately
Like
taken out. And then
no
here's another
spoilers,
one.
but it like hardcore reminded me of this one scene from The Last of Us 2 when I was just like, oh god damn, you just got knocked out, dude. Oh my god, dude. Like
Something
that was so good.
something I brought up in our last episode. I was like, I was surprised to see another silver C3 unit. Well,
Yeah.
turns out there's another one in this one too. In the very beginning, it's a white one.
There's millions of them. There's millions of them. It's like
There are,
iPods.
but I don't feel like they're as common as iPods. Is that what you said?
Yeah, like they're in
But
they're actually, I think at that point in time they're obviously old tech. Like there's gonna be, you know, a bunch of
I'm sure
fucking
they're
robots.
common, but I just never felt like I saw them in the other movies, really.
That's because like the R2 units, they make a note of them all the time. Like, oh, grab that R2 unit, grab that R2 unit, that R2 unit.
Hmm.
But like they never mention C3 units. Like they
'Cause they're
just
so
they're
annoying.
there, they're in the background and shit.
Well, they are very useful. I feel like a C3 unit is so much more useful in day to day.
Bro, like
You
it's funny you
know?
say that because like I that was one of the notes that I took too. Like Jordan, you remember how last time we were making fun of how they were saying that they wanted a protocol droid to talk to the
Yeah,
vaporators?
yeah, 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 yeah.
In this one, he's like, why don't you go talk to the Falcon and find out what's wrong with the
The
hyperdrive? I was like,
hyperdrive, yeah.
that's
Plug 'em in.
literally what we were talking about, dude. That's exactly why they wanted it, to see what was wrong with the
Yeah,
vaporators.
because he could plug in. And nowadays, if you think about how ahead of time they were in their thinking of how technology would progress, like if you compare to today, how we have these devices and the internet, like you know how they I thought I made a note of it. I guess I didn't, but there was a thing that reminded me of the internet, what he was using. I can't remember what it was, but he like typed into something. Was it Luke when he was in the ship going to Dagobah? Dagobah, like just think about using a GPS, even like
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about. Yeah,
finding
yeah.
coordinates on a star map, or just you know like scanning shit, just all the things, or using
hmm
um his his thing on his wrist as a walkie-talkie to talk to Han. If you have an Apple Watch, you're doing that.
Han running out to save Luke. He was so aggressive because they were getting really worried because he wasn't he
Oh my
wasn't
god.
back in,
And it
and
was
then
a
they were like,
cold.
you can't leave. The Tauntaun's gonna die before you hit the first marker. And he's like, then I'll see you in hell. And he rides away on the
Yeah,
Dude,
Tauntaun.
such a
I made
badass.
so many notes about this ride that Han Solo takes. So like first of all, Han Solo knows exactly where Luke is, which is fucking weird.
I made a
Do
note
you
about that
think
too.
do you think Han Solo was
And
force sensitive to some
Uh,
I
degree?
think I don't think that they really implied in the original trilogy, but in the sequel trilogy, they
so
definitely do.
I
Because
think it was.
he navigates an
Go,
asteroid field with a ship.
Yeah, he sure fucking does. Like a
You know what I'm
he
boss
does
saying?
a lot of other stuff that would imply he's force sensitive too. You're right. I think they
Like
always
the
toy
Kessel
around
Run.
with that. Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example of it. But well, there's probably also an argument for Chewie being force sensitive, but then you're really towing the line saying, well, everyone's force sensitive to a certain degree. It's also
Yeah.
called plot armor.
Well,
But
yeah,
for
I
sure.
guess so.
For sure.
I think my theory on that whole him finding Luke in a whiteout blizzard is it was Ben, because skipping ahead from where we were just talking about, Ben appears to Luke when Luke, like right before Luke passes out, and then when Ben fades away, his Force ghost, then Han comes like rushing through where he was.
That's
I
true.
think it was actually
Mm.
Ben's influence that brought him there.
That could be. But then here's my follow up to that. Actually, before I even get to that, can we just talk for a second about how he finds Luke and he's like over there, like seeing what's wrong with him, and then his Tauntaun, who was totally fucking fine 5 seconds ago, is just like
Immediately
Peels off.
dies.
You just scared my cat.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
when you did that, my cat was like, "What the fuck?"
How
What
does
the
a
fuck?
Tauntaun die and Han doesn't? Like, how are humans alive right now and the creatures that are native to that environment
Doesn't
die?
make any fucking
Oh,
sense.
and by the way,
plot armor. That's why.
and a little factoid: they're lizards, which
Wait,
are
what?
cold-blooded. What is going on?
Maybe
What?
they're not.
Yeah, a
Are they?
tauntaun is a lizard.
Is a tauntaun native to that? Yeah, they're like little dinosaurs. Are they native to that place? They weren't brought there.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm gonna Google it right now, but I made sure to Google it when I was watching it because I couldn't believe it. I'm like, how is this creature dying before a human?
Remember, he slices it open and he
Yeah.
puts Luke's body inside of its stomach, and he goes, "It's not gonna smell great, kid, but it'll keep you warm."
I
That's
thought
weird.
they smell bad on the outside.
Yeah.
Right before that, what I thought was stupid of Luke to do. Why'd you leave the cave, dude?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Just
Why did you
fucking
leave?
kill the Wampa and stay in there,
Well,
man.
he was so injured, he would have died and bled out. No one would have found him, probably.
But I mean,
I don't know, man. Han found him with the quickness. I feel like he would have been like, "Oh, look at that cave over there."
Maybe it got.
Oh,
It could have. I don't know. It could have snowed in, and we could talk semantics of snow and blizzards and stuff. We're from Florida. We don't know what we're saying.
That's fair.
there was a little continuity error when he was leaving the cave. You heard the sound of his lightsaber retracting, but it was just fully out as he left the cave.
Oh, dude, there's several of those. I stopped making those notes after a while.
Right.
That one just really stuck out to me. Oh, and another thing about the lightsaber, he tried so hard to just summon the saber to his hands, and then Rey does it instantly. Like the power scaling is way off now.
She was
right?
she was Palpatine's
I was
granddaughter,
actually-
man. So-
I was gonna mention this later when we got to it, but like I'll just bring it up now. Like I was watching that fight between Luke and Vader, and like the first half of it,
it's a long
Luke's
fight.
actually giving Vader the business, dude. I was like,
It-
this is actually strangely reminiscent of that fight between Kylo Ren and Rey.
He always does. I mean, they always try to, because you got to look at Vader always trying to get a rise out of him, trying to get him to express his anger and shit. But yeah, I thought that particular lightsaber fight is one of the best ones in the series because it's creative in how Darth Vader is using the Force against him. It's very creative and original in a lot of ways, but it's like it's relatively long. You know,
It is a long fight.
Yeah,
You're right. It
yeah.
is long.
But I was really taken aback when like he knocks him into the carbonite chamber and Luke jumps out and Vader has no fucking
Has
idea.
no
He's like,
fucking
"Oh,
idea."
Shit. I can't believe you got out of there. Maybe you aren't such a piece of shit
right,
after all."
Impressive.
Well, then he goes, Obi-Wan trained you well, and I'm like, well, he trained him for like 5 minutes in the Millennium Falcon, one time.
Yeah, Obi-Wan didn't teach him a goddamn thing.
He just doesn't know about Yoda. Yeah.
He doesn't.
At that point, he doesn't know about Yoda.
Yeah. Yoda trained him.
But getting back to like the Han Solo scene, like the other big problem that I have with this entire sequence is like Han Solo goes out there with this Tauntaun who's apparently a cold-blooded lizard, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Finds him immediately, and yet they have to send out a whole fucking squad to find Han Solo after that. Like, Han Solo couldn't be like, yo, dog, this is where I'm going to go.
Or like
It's
have
like
some sort of tracking device on him.
Literally anything.
And why didn't any of them have a tracking for the technology? Why wouldn't you have like if I go missing right now and we have gasoline cars, if I go missing right now, y'all can track my phone and probably find me if it's on, you know?
Yeah.
Well, they try to predict the future. It's not perfect, you know. I think they got
But
as
they
close
have
as they
tracking
can.
devices in Star Wars, man.
They
Well,
had tracking devices back then, you know? Back in the 80s, they had tracking devices.
well,
Not
I
very good
think
ones.
as the snowspeeder was trying to search for him, he kept on like pinging the radio frequency for it, and then he finally got to Han. So I think their idea of a tracking, or I know, well, I guess that was more communication. I don't know. I'm not gonna defend it. I don't know why the hell they didn't have tracking. I don't know. Maybe he rushed out of there too quickly and he forgot it. But
What was the plot hole you guys mentioned?
oh,
I'll get to that in a second. Like, this is a fucking good one, but I'll get to that in a second. I still got some problems with this snow shit. First of
Right.
all,
Right.
was anybody else struck like, why the fuck did you guys make your base on this snowy blizzard of a planet?
Because there was no
And,
life forms. I don't know.
well, that sure as fuck didn't stop Vader from immediately going, that's them.
I
Yeah,
always
They're right
thought it
there.
was. I always thought it was
right.
just because it was remote. And Vader, I would assume that was just the Force's influence. You know.
I mean, I guess.
It
Are
was
we gonna say
definitely
it's
it
the
was definitely
Force's?
the Force's influence because immediately he was whenever you could always tell with Vader that it's the Force's influence because he's so they always doubt him and he ends up being right and he's like I told you know he's just like nope that's them that's where we're
Looks like
going.
I gotta kill another admiral.
This sad ancient religion keeps working, man.
Yeah, you sad ancient wizards.
And then my other thing, are we gonna say it's the Force in this fucking guy in the snow speeder who keeps flying directly at the snowbanks and then dodging them at the last second?
When?
You didn't notice that when they were out looking for Han Solo, the shots that they were trying to do were trying to be like dynamic going over the hills or whatever. But since you're in the cockpit of this snow speeder, it looks like he's flying immediately at the snowbanks and then pulling up at the last second to go over them.
I
Right.
don't know. Well, I always thought that snow speeders they didn't fly like traditional
They're
like
more like
traditional
planes or
craft.
jets.
They
They're not
hover kind of.
spaceships.
Well, I always thought they kind of hovered because you never really see a speeder above a certain altitude,
They
right?
can go up pretty high though. They can make it at least 100 feet or better.
They don't use
Sure.
the speeders enough. I always loved the design.
I love them too. Remember Rogue Squadron? Rogue Squadron was possibly the best Star
Yeah.
Wars game ever created, as far as flying ships goes, definitely. But also crazy is these crazy fucking AT-ATs that are like super powerful. They're getting stopped by some tow cable that can't. I mean, I'm sure it's very powerful, but there's no way that those legs are so weak that they get tripped over that a couple passes of that shit.
Forget them getting tripped, dude. Can we just talk about how
They blow up.
the armor of these things were so fucking impenetrable until it fell down, and now it instantly explodes into a million pieces?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
a
how
lot of
Luke took one out. Luke cut a hole in it and threw a grenade
just
in there.
threw like what grenade was that? What
A thermal
what
detonator.
kind of crap is that?
It's a thermal detonator. They're very powerful.
Oh,
Yeah,
also,
that's why you don't fuck with the
I,
thermal
I,
detonators.
I believe a thermal detonator will definitely do that before I believe that ship is flying by it while it's on the ground and blowing it up instantly.
okay. Do you believe though? Do you think that snow speeders are built to defend or attack AT-ATs, or that it was just fortuitous that they had a tow cable and they thought to use it in that way?
Who thought to, Luke? It was Luke's idea, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
But then Dak died and he
Okay.
couldn't do it.
And his bot, Dak dies, and then for every scene for the next 5 minutes, he's just in there like you see his head bobbing around. You know.
Well, that's what would happen.
I was like, what the? Dude, like
just,
he dies kind of out of nowhere too. It's just like, oh shit, now Dak's dead.
yeah, like what a
Whoops.
perfect shot, and then he
Do you
dies.
remember that was a cheat code in Rogue Squadron? Dead Dak. It opened up a bunch of levels. I think
What?
that was a cheat.
Is it really?
Yeah, swear to God.
I
And
didn't know
and
that.
and Satan, because I don't want to pick sides here.
But before before we even get to taking out the AT-ATs, can we just talk about Diaper Luke for a second?
Oh yeah, floating in the Lazarus pit.
Floating in the water like fucking Vegeta or something.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. Yeah.
Remember, he got into a car accident for some other movie he was doing, and it was just fortuitous that he was damaged. That he like had facial reconstructive surgery and shit. That's why he looks different. From A New Hope, he's like still boyish. Then after that scene in Empire Strikes Back, he's fugly for like the rest of time.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he got into
Yeah,
a
you
very
never noticed that?
horrible car
No. Well,
accident.
I knew he looked different, but I thought that was just the makeup. I didn't know that.
No, he had like reconstructive surgery on his face.
$1,000 says there's a conspiracy theory that says that they switched actors.
Oh man,
I'm sure
I'm
it's
not even
there
gonna attempt
somewhere.
to lose $1,000 on that one, buddy.
You keep your 1,000.
Yeah,
All right, so
Oh, dude.
back at the Rebel base is where I was going to go. What were you going to say, Dean?
Dude, you remember how we were talking about in the New Hope episode about how creepy Chewie's eyes were?
Yes.
His laugh is way fucking creepier, man.
I know. I think the eyes are worse.
I don't know, man.
Seeing the human eyes in the mask, I think that's worse than the laugh.
But you still see his human eyes while he's laughing at him too. It's like a double whammy.
There's clearly more budget in this film. It's not as bad as it was in the 4th episode.
That's true, but it's still pretty fucking noticeable.
His laugh is pretty weird. And
I got one. If we go back to well, I guess it's skipping way ahead. Remember? Oh no, I guess it's not. Obi-Wan tells Luke when he's a Force ghost, he tells Luke to go to the Dagobah system to go see Yoda to train him. He's like, he's the Jedi Master that trained me, but Yoda trained him in the sense that Yoda overall trained every Jedi, but Yoda wasn't directly like. Remember when he goes, "Wasn't I?" Well, Obi-Wan is specifically known for being well mannered. No, Obi-Wan, you were never any of those things ever.
Well,
right?
To be fair, we meet Obi-Wan when he's already like older than Luke is in this movie. So like we don't know what he was like when he was like Anakin's age and shit. Maybe he was a terror, and maybe he was trained by Yoda.
He was taken from his. I know a lot about Obi-Wan because he's my favorite Jedi, and I know these things. But Obi-Wan was taken as a youngling, traditionally very young, and he had no innate special. He was Force sensitive enough to be taken, but he wasn't like how Anakin has this crazy potential. He had like fucking none. Nobody even wanted to train him. The only reason he became a Jedi is because Qui-Gon took a chance on him. Qui-Gon saw his determination, but he was the only reason Obi-Wan lives to be one of the greatest Jedi ever is because of practice and hard work. He is not known for any type of innate ability whatsoever. He practices the same lightsaber slash 2 million times like Rock Lee kicking a fucking tree until he's good at something. And that being said, his history was he would go on these little missions and like trade disputes and just basically little Jedi missions with Qui-Gon when he was very young, but like Anakin's age, and they would go settle disputes. And that's when I think at some age, maybe around the same age, right before we meet him in Episode 1, Obi-Wan had fallen in love with the Duchess on Mandalore because they go to Mandalore for some reason, and they're both young.
Oh yeah.
And it's like puppy love kind of shit. He considered leaving the Jedi Order for her. Ultimately, they decided that it was best if he became a Jedi or this or that or whatever. But that's why that whole in Clone Wars, the whole Duchess thing, where they're like basically you could cut the sexual tension with a knife, and it's a kids show. You know. They nailed it.
Bro, you're like a savant for Star Wars knowledge. What the? Like, I know what you're talking about, but until you brought it up, I would have never remembered that in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Also, just as a side note,
I have a problem. Just put it that way.
Just as random aside, since you brought up that Obi-Wan is your favorite Jedi, I'm just gonna note here, because we're never gonna talk about him for any reason, that my favorite Jedi is definitely Tyvoka.
Oh yeah,
Fuck yeah, dude, a Wookiee Jedi? You
that
know how
is bad. That
badass
is
that is?
super badass.
And
Super
super
badass.
rare too.
True,
Very
Yeah.
rare.
yeah. He had a
I think
wooden handled lightsaber, which is
Fuck yeah, he did,
which
dude.
is
And he was
crazy.
on the
Which
Jedi Council.
as a woodworker, I think a wooden handled lightsaber is the coolest shit ever. Like seriously,
Fuck
just
yeah, it is,
dope as
dude.
shit. Like if I could have a wooden handled lightsaber, God,
So circling back around, was anybody else like super fucking pumped when they started playing the Imperial March the first time?
always, dude. That just like
Yeah.
invokes
Dude,
emotion.
yeah, dude. Like I forgot that it wasn't in episode 4 until it started playing here. I was like, hell yeah.
Dude, I love it when you get to see the Empire's might in any way. I mean, I just
Yeah.
love. I mean, they're attributed with the Nazis and stuff. Gives you that Nazi feel when you get like the legions of fucking stormtroopers and shit. But it's so badass, you know.
Bro, Hitler wishes he had the power that Palpatine had, man.
Oh yeah,
Like this is on
Hitler's
another
a
goddamn
punk bitch compared to
Yeah, dude.
Palpatine.
Palpatine's in another stratosphere compared to
oh
Yeah.
what
definitely in
he
a
was
different
doing.
galaxy, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I mean, they landed on Hoth and they just stomped. Like,
Yeah, dude.
I mean, they flew around with the snow speeders. They took out a few AT-ATs, but their mission was getting the out of there.
They
You
took
know,
And
there
they
two
was
lit
out.
some
They took out
badass
one.
fireworks
They
around the
took out
base.
one with the cables, and Luke naded the other one.
Oh, can we just talk about how awesome snow troopers look? By the way, the white helmets
Yeah,
and the
they do,
masks.
dude.
I think they're my favorite climate trooper, like
I
Yeah,
don't know,
climatized
man.
I know.
trooper. Like
I'm partial to the scout troopers from on Endor. Those are
Scout
cool.
troopers are badass.
I
I
like
didn't
them
like
in
them.
in the Mandalorian. The scout troopers were such assholes.
Oh yeah,
Let me see. What different Oh, Death Troopers are pretty fucking
oh,
rad
oh! I
too.
yeah.
think by
The
that
all
from Rogue
black.
One, the Death Troopers are badass, dude. I think they're the coolest for sure. For
I
sure, they're
think
the coolest.
I also love a really rare trooper, but in Solo you saw them like the desert trooper, like the mud troopers. They had like brown armor and
No,
stuff.
Mm.
those weren't the mud. Those were Imperial Army. There's an Imperial Army, and Stormtroopers are, believe it or not, more of an elite class. And they kind of phased out the Imperial Army in favor of the Stormtroopers as time went
Weren't there
on.
like weren't there like stormtroopers that had like brown armor on the Oh, I guess yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I
No,
guess not.
Imperial Army was a thing.
Sea Troopers are pretty rad too, man.
Like Han was never a Stormtrooper. He was just like a grunt army guy for the
How do you
Empire.
get this many designs in one line right again and again and again and again? This is just like an impressive masterclass in design.
I know, right?
Oh, damn. I don't know, man. It for me, it's either the Death Troopers or the Shadow Troopers. I'm not sure which one I like
I don't
more though.
remember the Shadow Troopers. What are those?
Ooh, okay, yeah, I know these. Yeah, the shadow troopers are real awesome. They were in I think the shadow troopers were also
Oh,
in
that is badass.
Fallen Order too. You fight a few shadow
Oh,
troopers.
really?
Oh
I
yeah, I
still
know
need to
them
finish
from
that
Jedi
game.
Knight,
I suck because I'm on like the second planet and never even picked the fucking controller up again.
bro.
Gotta play
I
it.
was looking at the PSN sale right before we started recording, and like it's the deluxe editions on sale on PS4 for like $30. I'm like, oh, I kind of want it now.
It's an incredible Star Wars story. It's not gonna blow you away.
I feel like the mechanics sometimes are trash as far as gameplay.
Ooh,
That's what
It's
deters me from finishing the game because of how cool the story. It's a really, dude. I love the stories and the cutscenes, but sometimes I'm playing it and I'm just like, this is not a 4 game. I'm playing a fucking
mm.
PlayStation 3 game, and it looks good, but it just the gameplay is just some, not even always, but just some certain
play at
aspects are
a
just garbage.
play at a higher difficulty because I found that parries and blocks and stuff were actually easier at a higher difficulty because the time that you could do them matched up more with what you would just normally parry
But then
with.
all the enemies are impossible to kill.
Yeah,
When I have to
and
fight
it's
someone big,
awesome.
when like the stormtroopers are
Well,
stormtroopers.
because I mean, the main character is a Padawan. You know, like he
Right.
doesn't like he's not a good Jedi. He's nothing special. So,
but I know his character from that show, so I'm just like, he's
is
not
it
a Jedi.
off-putting? He's also the Joker in Gotham.
Yeah, he is.
Oh,
the
is
Joker.
that who that is?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the Rebel base is where we were at last. So like when they get back to the Rebel base after saving Luke, and that's where we see Luke in the tank and everything.
Yeah, fuck all that. I'm gonna jump straight to the part that I was talking about at the top.
Well, I want to bring up the iconic Leia Han dialogue about nerf herders and laugh it up Fuzzball when he got pissed off at Chewie because he was laughing at the laugh that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So, and then also the sister brother kiss when she was pissed off at Han and to make him jealous, she kissed Luke again.
So I just want to jump straight into the giant plot hole that I was talking about before we started recording.
Yeah, I noticed it early in the movie.
So I don't know if we're talking about the same thing, but what I'm talking about is like when they're looking for the rebel base, Vader is like, Skywalker is there.
Yep.
This motherfucker knows his name is Luke Skywalker and never connected the dots that that's his son.
Actually, what the fuck, right?
Dude, he knew it. First of all, how does he know his name?
Yeah, that was the other thing. Like, how does he even know who Luke Skywalker is? But even if we somehow assume that they like snagged up some communications or some shit like that, like the fact that he doesn't connect those dots is weird.
Is Skywalker that common of a name? There, he's like, oh, it's another Skywalker, whatever.
Like
definitely fucking
like
not, dude.
Skywalker is the space version of Smith or Jones. It's just common.
Whenever they instead of John Doe, it's like John Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like
we're gonna find out that it's like one of those names where like when you don't have a last name, you just
like
get
snow,
that when you're a
like
pilot
snow or sand, like in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But like if you're a pilot, you become Skywalker.
No, his mother's name, her name was Skywalker. He got it from his mother.
No, yeah, he got it from his mother, but
Anakin
that doesn't mean that
did,
like
Shmi
her
Skywalker?
father didn't get it for that reason or some shit like that.
And what a name! Like okay, so because Dean, you read American Gods or at least listened to it. I listened to it, but
yeah. So circling back to Star Wars, like, can we just talk about Vader's breathing apparatus for a second? Like, how the fuck does that work?
He talks while it sounds like he's breathing. So I don't know if it's like a separate pump.
Exactly. I was like, how the fuck is he breathing and talking at the same time?
Maybe it's a ventilator. Like how a ventilator pushes air in the lungs for you. Like he's not doing his own breathing. That machine is doing his breathing. That machine is his lungs.
But is he talking through that machine like Stephen Hawking too? Because like if it's pushing air into his lungs, you still wouldn't be able to speak that way.
That's true.
Well, you know what, Dean, you bring up a really good point, and for now on, you should just write all media ever.
Oh, okay. I got some great ideas.
You bring up some good ass points.
But speaking of good ass points, like what the fuck is this meditation chamber that he's sitting in, man?
I noted
That's the coolest thing ever. It's a heal. It's
what
for because he can take off his suit in that, and it's like a climate. And I could be like misquoting or misspeaking, but it's like a climate where he can meditate in there and like not die if he takes his mask off because it's like
it simulates what his ventilator does, but it just makes the environment like a pressurized little bubble for him.
Right, and it's actually whenever he removes that shit, whenever he's meditating, it's not like how like Zen Buddhists meditate and like you get peaceful. Like when a Sith meditates, they're like summoning pain. Like his ass is removing that suit so he can feel hatred and shit. It's crazy. It's like the most metal shit ever because he's going in there and like in agonizing pain, you know?
Speaking of which, like we get like a sneak peek of what he looks like under the mask.
You do, and which I've always forgot about because I always thought the first time you ever got a glimpse of his ugly ass was at the end of ROTJ, but no, it's right there. You get the back of his head. looking
Bro,
like
he looks like he's been fucked up too. Like his
looks
head
like
is
looks like
bruised as
Freddy
hell.
Krueger. It looks like Freddy Krueger's fucking dad or some shit.
He looks like Freddy Krueger got bashed in the head and it's all bruised up.
I
and
wonder
shit.
if Lucas knew he was going to be burned, or if that was like just what the dark side does to you, like Palpatine, quote unquote. Like
I
know
always
Palpatine
thought it was dark
but...
side energy, like it did to Palpatine before I ever saw Revenge of the Sith, and you realize he got volcanoed, you know.
Literally.
Dude, I mean,
even in the video games, like even in a lot of the Star Wars video games that allow you to be like dark or light, when you get closer to the dark side, your skin starts to wrinkle, your eyes get bloodshot.
Right, which is the single coolest thing about those old Republic games, Knights of the Old Republic, is the fact that when you do something fucking murderous, you get those dark side points and you can see the bags under your eyes form, or your eyes are turning yellow and red or some shit. Like you get this really cool turn to the dark. I used to always play a character who I would like, I'm gonna be good, and then like 4 days into my adventure, I'm like the most evil son of a bitch.
It's too easy to be evil.
It's just too.
I hope there's no big spoiler at the end of that game. That would be a shame since I'm playing through it for the first time.
Matt, I'm so proud of myself. I ruined the twist in the first Knights of the Old Republic for Dean like last week. Because he never played it, and I didn't know that.
And that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Read the Revan book. And you too, Jordan. That book, and I think I give it to Mitch, but I would give it to either one of you to keep. That book is amazing. As far as
I did read that book like years ago.
So then who gives a shit?
How do you not know? Is that not in the book?
It's at the Revan after. It's Revan after it's Revan after he becomes it's like when he
goes before he becomes exiled and loses his memory.
But hold on, dude. Like, even if I knew that he got exiled and lost his memory, why would at the beginning of the game I think, oh, this guy lost his memory, he must be Revan? Anybody can fucking lose their memory, dude.
Revan is the coolest Jedi. He's not my favorite Jedi, but he's the coolest Jedi ever. And I think that's a fact.
Revan was my favorite for a long time. Revan's fucking cool.
He's still one of my favorites. I also
he's one of my favorites, too. But Obi-Wan's my favorite because the same reason Captain America is my favorite. I am not a Boy Scout in real life, but if I were a superhero, I feel like I would be. I would just be the hero's hero, like just by the book.
Man.
So, one other thing that I wanted to note really quick. Did anybody else notice that Vader kills that first admiral from like a million miles away?
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
he force chokes him through FaceTime.
Love it, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, but like more importantly, you remember how everybody was losing their fucking minds about Luke projecting himself across the galaxy in episode 9 or episode 8? And it turns out Vader's been doing this shit for 30 years.
No, but he could reach out through the Force and find a windpipe and just squeeze it shut. That's what he did.
From light years away.
Yeah.
And didn't affect him one fucking iota. Yeah. Meanwhile, Luke is dead.
He died, I know.
But
which I don't know if that's more or less infuriating.
Don't underestimate how powerful Darth Vader was, and also don't underestimate the fact that Luke cut himself off from the Force entirely for like fucking 20 or 30 years, and then just did an amazing feat of power after not even.
What are you implying? Like the Force is a fucking scorned ex? Oh, you don't call me for 20 years, and now you want to use me to project yourself across? Okay, we'll see what happens, motherfucker.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
That he died because he's out of practice and it just overexerted him.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Ryan Johnson is a piece of shit. And there's no other way to put it, man.
I did not like his decisions, yes.
Hold on. Let's be clear. Kathleen Kennedy is a piece of shit. She approved all this bullshit.
No, well, okay, well, she's obviously just an asshole, but, I mean, she's a busy woman.
She's also in charge.
She's also in charge.
She's fucking in charge.
Yeah, like, I don't know, man. I'm bitter. I'm bitter about
she watched all the dailies.
Episode 9 would have been way cooler if episode 8 was different. You know, yes, and the fact
that's 100% correct.
The fact that the theory that Rey was a Palpatine was a fun theory to watch on YouTube, and part of me when I first heard about that years ago, when after The Force Awakens came out, I was like, that's a fun one, but that's too cliche, and it is, and I feel like that was a fucking it was a scapegoat for them writing a good movie. They just like, let's just pick your favorite fan theory and just give it to them. That's what I felt like.
So I like that. I like that she's the granddaughter.
Well, I don't
but
hate
the execution
it, but
is the worst part about
Boys,
that.
Guys. We're not talking about that bullshit today. We're talking about the good Star Wars.
Ugh, okay,
real Star Wars.
Literally.
Like, fuck episode 7, 8, and 9 right now. This is not important. What is important
That's true.
is how fucked up R2-D2 got because Luke wanted to go to fucking Dagobah. This poor robot got thrown into a swamp, eaten by a swamp creature, and then hurled across said swamp into a tree.
Luke said, no, we're not going to the rendezvous point. We're going to the Dagobah system. Why?
Dude,
you can hear it in R2's beeps, too. He's like, what the fuck, man? I don't want to do that.
I'll give you another how did he do it. He goes to an entire planet, crash lands, and finds Yoda. Out of the entire planet, finds Yoda.
I can explain that.
Luckily.
Dagobah isn't huge. It's like a moon. But
more importantly, I can explain that because later on in the movie, Yoda says he's been watching Luke for a long time.
That's true.
So conceivably, he knew he was coming.
Yes, I assumed Force influence. Like, whenever convenient things happen in Star Wars, I just assume Force influence somehow.
It's the best plot armor
ever. It's the best
ever.
Deus Ex Machina ever.
It really is. And we just accept it usually.
And I want to mention something before we leave it for good. There's only 2 occurrences in any Star Wars that, like, movie anyways, any main Star Wars movie that you ever see a non-Force user use a lightsaber, and that's when Han Solo cut open the Tauntaun, and when Finn actually uses it for combat against Kylo Ren and against that stormtrooper.
Unless they're both Force sensitive, which is a prevalent theory.
Right, that's true.
Those Tauntaun guts really screwed with me when I was a kid too. I thought they were so gross.
You know what they look like? They look like when they cut open the android in Alien. Remember that?
Yes! Oh, man. You're totally right. It does look a lot like that.
When did Alien come out?
Very close to that movie, I think. It was like late 70s.
1979.
Yeah.
So it would have been before this movie.
Right. 5 came out in 81? What was it? 80 or 80? Okay, 80. Yeah, right before. Wow. Same VFX artist, maybe.
Maybe.
Those guts, though, they look exactly like that. You're right.
One for one. The only difference is that there isn't white shit spewing everywhere.
Oh, before we get to Dagobah, can we talk about the space worm?
Oh, yeah. What about it? It's just a space worm, man.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Just that's just a thing.
I don't know what you have to say about it.
That was good writing, I think. Like, they're like, ooh, the floor. It's not like a rock. Like, they're walking around in there, and they you could hear it's wet. And it would be, but they would also be, like, there's no atmosphere on an asteroid, so how is that space worm even alive?
What does it eat? Other asteroids?
How are there creatures living in it?
It turns out it's an asteroid parasite.
Look, you don't go to Star Wars for science fact. We know this, but that part always really blew my mind, because it happened there, and doesn't it also happen in the Solo movie when he's escaping? Like, he does the Kessel Run, but he's also escaping some monster in a black hole or something. Was that not a thing that happens in the movie? I'm trying to remember giant space monstrosities that exist in Star Wars lore.
I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure. What I can tell you is that that space worm is called an exogorth, which is colloquially known as a space slug.
Oh, space slug? That was not a slug.
Colloquial, man. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Okay. Space straw.
I just want to know what they eat.
Oh, something else that happened right before that I made a note of. Whenever Han is trying to outrun the Empire or evade something, they just fly straight every single time, and it's hilarious. He's fixing the hyperdrive, doing all of these things with Chewie, and they just are like essentially flying straight. I guess it's assumed that Leia's piloting when he's down there fixing it, but they're just pretty much just going straight the entire time.
Hold on. They're not eating Minox. This shit says their diet is similar to Minox. They eat passive radiation.
That's actually kind of cool because it would give them a source of energy.
But why do they have big fucking mouths if they're passively absorbing radiation, dude?
Right, with teeth, with like people teeth.
With teeth, yeah, right. What
Yeah,
are
not
teeth
just
for?
teeth.
Like
People
human
teeth.
Oh, I didn't finish the sentence. Apparently, they also chomp on rocks and metal. Well, that explains it.
And that's why you need predator teeth and not like stone grinding flat teeth,
Like
molars,
Brontosaurus
Yeah.
fucking teeth.
I mean, what'll really fuck you up is apparently their eyes are in their mouth.
That's cool.
So he saw them coming.
Oh god, he saw
Yeah,
them
dude,
leave
like
too.
he was watching them. Like, what the fuck is this dude parked on my tongue for?
I'm gonna
Right.
I'm
surprise
just gonna
the hell
scope
out of
him
them.
out for a little
Yeah.
bit.
So
gonna watch
they were all the way in the in its stomach or some shit, right?
Yeah,
I would
they're-
assume so.
yeah.
Those stomach acid. is a thing?
Anyway, what a fucking tangent that was.
Back on
Goddamn
Dagobah
Exogarth.
when he crash lands on Dagobah and he mistreats R2 continuously, even leaves him out in the rain when he's in the hut with Yoda. I felt so bad for R2, like looking through the window and just getting rained on.
Bro, you
But-
know who I felt bad for? Yoda. This hungry little hermit was like, oh shit, look at this. He's got some extra food. Let me just munch on that. Luke's like, what the fuck are you doing? Give me that back. Which,
Yeah, but Yoda.
to be fair, is a rational response to that. But then he throws it into the swamp, dude.
Yeah, the fact that he
What a
wasted
dick!
it pissed me off because I'm like, you should have just gave it to him. What the fuck?
He thought he was just
Seriously.
like a random weird, a local inhabitant. He didn't know it was Yoda at the time. Which, man, I miss Crazy Yoda. Like
Yes.
the prequel trilogy changed him so much.
I prefer the newer version of Yoda, though, because, like, as revered as Yoda seems to be, despite him being insane, I like going back and seeing what he was like before he lost his fucking mind, being out on Dagobah for
You think the isolation
almost 2 decades.
But here's the thing, though. This dude's
Had to.
900 years old, and he only spent, 18, 20 years of his life isolated on Dagobah? You're going to tell me those 20 years of his 900-year life it made him crazy?
You want to go hang out on a swamp planet for 18 years with nobody to talk to but yourself?
all
A
I'm saying
swamp
is-
planet with arguably one of the most like evilest dark side fucking presences. The reason he never got found is because the dark side on that planet was equal to his light side, and he was like, it's like why Rick keeps a Morty. The same reason Yoda went there. He just flew under the radar for them 30 years.
So is that why Ben was never found on Tatooine? Because it's a wretched, vile...
Ben should have been found, and I think I don't know, man. I think because if you read any of the Obi-Wan stuff, like even it's all legends now, but there was a Kenobi book about him on Tatooine looking after Luke, and he's like trying to lay low but just can't. Like he gets in good with a Tusken Raider. This
He
shit
would.
happens. This shit.
That's how he learned to yell like that.
Yeah.
He can Jedi through the Force can communicate in other languages that they don't know how to speak through the Force. They can like communicate through the Force, and the creature will hear their own language, even though the person is just like doing a Force trick and is like communicating energy, like good, like no, it's okay type shit.
That actually explains like an extraordinary amount in Star Wars.
It does. Well, it doesn't explain how they can always communicate with droids more or
Or
less
Chewie.
seamlessly. Or, well, hey, Force sensitive. Hey,
Han is sure not fucking Force sensitive, bro.
I don't know. No,
but that Wookiee language is learnable. Is very learnable. So Han understands him, and Chewie understands Han, but they're not speaking each other's language either. Like Han isn't making those growls; he just knows what the growls mean. If you ever read that book, Lost Stars, the main protagonist in that book, he's from a planet that gets taken over from the Empire. He joins the Empire, then defects, and he gets in with a female Wookiee, is his like captain of a ship that he's on, and he's not a rebel yet, but she's like
growling at him, and he's going, "No, my fur isn't thin or something." Like she says something like, "Oh, you need to eat more. Oh no, your coat." She says something, but his reply was like she growled, and his reply was, "No, my coat's plenty shiny." Like she was implying he wasn't getting enough nutrients because his hair wasn't shiny, his coat wasn't shiny, and he was like, "No, no, my coat's plenty shiny." Like, you know, and he wasn't
That
force
brings up a
sensitive at
whole
all.
nother like I want to know the social architecture of a Wookiee's like society. Like, how do they judge each other? Right? Like we judge each other superficially based off of a number of human things about us, but like, what's a Wookiee? Like what's beautiful for a Wookiee? Like, oh man, their hair is so shiny, or look at those eyes. They don't even look human.
I'm sure Matt can answer that question, but I think if I
I could
remember
I could give
correctly,
some things, but I'm not that versed in Wookiees.
like I think if I remember correctly, Wookiees are more of a warrior type race, so it's more of a like
But they're also very
strongest.
smart. You know,
Yeah,
they're
they
very good
are.
with electronics and mechanical stuff. They're like crazy useful when it comes to having on a spaceship ship breaks. You know, you always see Chewie, I'll bet, he puts C-3PO's head on backwards, but the fact that he put all those wires back together and got them to work, I mean, after he
Hey,
got
he
blasted.
he's a ship mechanic. All right, he's not known for droids. He did a pretty good job though.
He's
He
not a
did
ship
do a pretty
mechanic.
good job, like
He is by
surprisingly.
no means a ship mechanic. You give him a ship like the Millennium Falcon to fix. I mean, that's just defeating, man. You know,
Well,
like
I mean,
hand me a
and
guitar that's been crushed by a car. You know, that's just not fair. It's just not fair, man.
Engineer Chewie is always my favorite. I love the scenes where he's like tinkering with something, like back on Hoth or backtracking a little bit, but I love when he comes out and Han's like, "What, you took it apart?" He's like, "Arr." He's all pissed off. He's like, "I'm fixing it, asshole."
Dude, I love it when you see Chewie's like just personality come
I love
out.
his
When
tool
he's just
he
like
uses.
he's just kind of a douche when it comes to playing that chess game that they have, and he likes to just tear shit apart and put it back together.
Yeah, you're right. It's like he gets the job done. He's a good engineer.
He's fucking awesome, dude. Like Chewie showing up in the prequels was like my favorite scene in all three movies.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you know, because he's so old, he was an adult technically at the end of Revenge of the Sith, but he's not even an old man yet in the original movies, and he's still like in the golden years at the end of fucking episode 9. I mean, he's not decrepit or nothing. He's still got some like 100 years of life left, or more. You know, because they live in well into their 600s or 700s, I think.
Damn.
He's got some gray hairs going in the sequel
He was like
trilogy,
he was
though.
like in his 400s, I think, maybe, or maybe in his 500s in that point. I can't remember exactly his age off the top of my head, but I know he was in the 400s. I think Yoda was I mean, you got to think how many generations of Jedi Yoda trained. Like if he said for 800 years I trained Jedi, that means he was 100 years old when he started training Jedi,
Yeah,
because he's like 900 and something when he dies. It's
yeah.
crazy.
That's fucking nuts, dude. Like he had 100 years to learn all this shit, which is longer than most of the Jedi species that we see are ever alive.
You're never done learning, but it also wasn't fair for him to get, like, you know how his ears go down in disappointment when Luke can't take the X-wing out of the water, and then he can do it, but of course he can do it because he's got 900 years of the idea of giving myself away and letting the Force do its thing. That, like, yeah, judge me by my size, you should not, because the Force is my ally. But you had 900 years of failure and learning from your mistakes. This kid is just fucking green as fuck. Like,
Both
you can't.
Yoda and Ben were super hard on him when he was trying to leave.
Bro, this is actually one of the notes that I took when I was watching this movie because, like, taking this movie, episode 4, and the prequels all into consideration, like the Jedi are kind of dicks, dude.
They are.
It
They
seems
are.
like
They
it
are.
seems like they want children because it's super easy to just indoctrinate them in whatever they say.
Well, that's why when they take the children, that's what they do. That's why they always say he's too old with Anakin. He's too old because at a certain point you have this identity already. You know who you are, or you know right from wrong, even to an extent, or you know you're just you have certain aspects of you where you have already developed personality to a degree. So like it's way easier to mold a baby from birth. Like if you're gonna train an assassin, right? Like you're gonna want to train them with no empathy, right? You're gonna, for killing. Like I mean, and that's an extreme example, but it is so much harder to rewrite something than it is to start fresh, right? Like it's hard to take a 20-year-old dude and teach him the fundamentals of the light side of the force. It would be so much easier to train Luke as a Sith at that age, you know?
Well, he said that he's already he has so much anger. He's always looking towards the future. He's looking for adventure. He was mocking him, saying there's no way I can start to train you. He even mentions you're too old when him and Ben are talking. Well, when they're in his hut and Luke's like trying to beg Yoda to train him, he brings all these points up. And he
Yes.
probably, obviously they had to eventually just kind of say, well, we're going to have to put our faith in this kid.
But
What other
also
options do we have?
look at
Well, there
Yoda like
is
kind of
one
a
other.
dad
I
figure,
did love
in the
that
sense
line.
that sometimes you misdirect children in raising them to some degree by saying, "Oh man, like I don't know, like if my daughter says, 'Let's go to the park,' and I'm like, I don't know, man, you never cleaned up your room earlier. I don't know if you're responsible enough to go to the park." To tell someone, "Oh, you're too old. Your mind's never. You're not patient." He's, "Oh, I could be patient. I am ready." Like you kind of motivate them.
Yeah. He just wants to go to Tashi Station, man.
He just wanted to train Leia. He really wanted to train Leia because Leia was a better in Yoda's mind. He and there's a lot of YouTube videos on this exact conversation. Is Yoda's plan was never to train Luke because he always thought that Luke was going to be another Anakin, which he could have easily been. But Leia was more pure, more rational. She was a member of the Senate at a very young age, being able to negotiate. And she was never the type of person to act in passion and anger. Which every time Luke picks up a lightsaber, he gets pissed off and starts swinging like a fucking wild
Dude,
person.
Leia's spicy as hell,
Never
though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, never wanted to act in passion rage. Get this big walking rug out of my way.
She,
Well, she's
yeah,
an
like
entitled. She's entitled, but no. But what I'm talking about is when she's negotiating, and I guess she could probably be feisty on the Senate floor, but she's got. I don't know. She's more tactical. I feel
she's
like
more
than
objective, probably
I feel
more
like
objective and distant.
when Vader is interrogating her, sure she's not backing down, but at the same time she's not, and I guess she's bound and shit, but I don't know. I just
She
feel
never
like
loses her convictions.
it's easy for Luke to just like act in anger, just like Anakin did.
just just like she was super down to watch Chewbacca choke Lando to death.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Just stand there and watch it happen.
Yeah,
That's
but
definitely a light side thing to
we
do.
were
Well,
all
we
down
saw
for that.
you kind of saw at the end of episode 5 when they, and I'm skipping ahead, but they save Luke. They're flying away, right? They hit light speed. Right before that, when they're trying to capture the Millennium Falcon onto Vader's ship, Vader and Luke, they're not talking, but Vader's speaking to him, and he's like, "Father." He seems like he's longing kind of
hmm
for that connection, but he
hmm
still keeps heart. He's and then he's also like talking about, why didn't you tell me, Ben? Why didn't you tell me? It kind of leaves it up to like, man, he might turn, right? Like episode 5, if you had no other idea of the Star Wars universe, you would think, man, like it's a real big possibility that he's going to turn.
I always wanted him to. Like whenever like he would reach out, "Join me," I'm just like going, "Join him, join him." Like automatically, I want that to happen. I want a
Well,
father son empire. I also, did you guys know that Luke started building his lightsaber long before he ever lost that one? He started building his lightsaber
what?
in between episode 4 and 5. So when he shows up with a fully fledged lightsaber, that didn't a lot of that the only thing I think he was missing up until 5 was a crystal, and he ended up getting a crystal going to Tatooine. And I guess no, he went to Tatooine after episode 4 to go to Obi-Wan's hut, and he got the instructions on how to make a lightsaber from there. And then he started building, and if you notice Luke's lightsaber, his green one, it's the same hilt, the same exact hilt as Obi-Wan's lightsaber, because he made it off of Obi-Wan's design. And
so between 4 and 5, he goes back to Tatooine, back to like Obi-Wan's place, and like just looks for things to help him train or something, and he finds
I think Obi-Wan might
the
tell him to go there and be like, hey, I got some documents you need to check out for making your own light, because becoming a Jedi is making
delete my
your
browsing
own light.
history when you get back there too.
Well,
just don't open Chrome. You can use Firefox.
Right.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I always wondered how the hell he knew how to make a saber, because they don't explain that in the movie. He just kind of has one.
They don't, but the books, you got to read. But see, a lot of my knowledge not only comes from like YouTube videos and the internet, but a lot of it comes from reading these books and actually just reading them or listening to
canon.
them. Well, I'll listen and read non-canon shit too, but
So this kind of random, but something that I just remembered that I was thinking about when I was watching this movie. Leia's fucking short, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
Carrie Fisher was not a tall
super
woman.
short.
Everyone else around her is so tall.
They're not though. Like Carrie Fisher was 5'1". That's why she's so short. She's just
wow,
a really
she's a foot
short
taller
human.
than Tom Cruise. Is that what you're trying to say?
Got him.
Got him. Yeah, got him.
But yeah, dude,
Point
like
blank.
when Lando and Han are walking together, I was like, God damn, she's short. And she was wearing heels in that scene too.
How come Chewie didn't crush Lando's like fucking throat? You know, how come he survived that? Because if a Wookiee could pull your arm out of its socket like effortlessly, and he's like mad and choking you, how did he not break his neck by accident? Just manhandled him.
He probably
Straight
knew. He probably knew Lando was the only way to really get Han back and escape, and they did. With Lando's help, they got out of there. So I don't know. Maybe he's a smart guy. He's a smart Chewie.
They were a little upset about Lando's betrayal, but not so upset that they forgot themselves and just started committing murder.
Oh, during the Dagobah stuff, they skip. They go back to Vader on his ship, and the bounty hunter scene with Bosk and IG-88 and Boba Fett, all the classic iconic bounty hunters. Now
I love IG-88.
That scene is really, really freaking cool. And the Admiral's like, we don't need bounty hunters for this.
I wish we got. And obviously Vader's feeling like, my guys suck ass if I gotta go pay for fucking.
He knows they do.
Good help.
He just sends the ships in the asteroid field, and when they're talking on the comms, like one of the one of the projections like disappears, and it's insinuated that their ship just blew up, like just looking for them in the asteroid field.
And you know how much like resources it costs to make one of those Star Destroyers? It's fucking ridiculous.
I don't understand where the Empire's
and those Star Destroyers house like thousands of lives.
Dude, it doesn't make any sense, because you go from Episode 4 destroying an entire Death Star, which is staffed by hundreds of thousands of people, maybe.
Yeah,
and then then you immediately go in, like the first scene in Episode 5. You have the freaking Super Star Destroyer, the Executor.
Yeah, it's a cool. Vader's Star Destroyer is the coolest one I think ever. The Super Star Destroyer. It's giant. So fucking cool. It's way cooler than anything else. I think even the newer stuff was just tried to be as cool as it, but wasn't. But what I really hated about Episode 9 is how fast they were able to make all those Star Destroyers and also have planet killer capabilities. Dude, they would take millions of years to produce something on that scale.
Yeah, we'll get there, Matt.
We're gonna fuck up Episode 9. Don't worry about that.
That's gonna be a 5-hour episode.
Like me shitting on the reality.
Seriously.
Of any of it.
But
yeah, it's gonna be bad.
Can we just circle back to the bounty hunters for a second? Like, did anybody else think it was weird when like they open up the doors to where Vader's standing there and Boba's behind him? Like Boba's supposed to be his muscle or something, but you're looking at Darth Vader.
I think he always liked Boba best, though. I mean, Boba's the one that found him. Boba knew to check.
Boba Fett is top tier bounty hunter, and it's just a shame that they should have really gave him more lines and more shit. I mean, I guess that's part of the thing that makes him so loved is that he had like 2 lines in the whole
He was just
fucking
mysterious,
yeah.
And I totally forgot that it was Boba that led them to Bespin, because when they're flying away, like from the trash dump that one of the Star Destroyers does, and they hide the ship and the debris that's left off, like, and Boba follows them, like, that's genius. None of the other bounty hunters ever thought to do that. They're off on their own doing God knows what, but
But
Boba had the intuition.
how smart was Han to hide behind that thing and just get blown away with the
That
trash?
was
That was so
awesome. That was a
genius.
really really cool move.
But can we acknowledge that the Slave One is the coolest ship in all of
Yes.
Star Wars?
I love
It's
the
definitely
sound
up
it
there.
makes. It just bubbles along like brr, 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 it sounds
And
like
the
a diesel engine.
and the way that it lays flat when it's
Mm-hmm.
landed and shit, dude,
Yeah.
it's so fucking
It's got to
rad.
ramp up and everything. It's super
So
awesome.
Slave One
there's
is that.
actually an interesting story behind the Slave One and why it's named that. If you'll indulge me
Yeah.
for a second.
Yes.
I don't know it.
So the Slave One is
consider yourself
actually
indulged.
excellent. So apparently it's actually a modified version of a ship called a Fire Spray 31. And there was only like 5 or 6 of these in the entire galaxy, which is why you never fucking ever see another one.
Super rare.
Really?
It was a prisoner transport ship, and during a prison riot, Django stole one of the ships and renamed it the Slave One. But the reason that it's called the Slave One is because the slave designation is an indication of its purpose as only a tool and a direct counterpoint to the common practice of ship captains to give their craft names, personalities, and a level of respect normally accorded to sentient beings. In this line of
Oh.
work, any personal attachment is potentially deadly.
So it's like disrespectful.
Yeah, purposely
Oh.
disrespectful because he doesn't want to have any emotional attachment to his ship.
Huh.
Wow.
That
So
is
if
very
he
cool.
crashed it, his next one will be like Slave 2 or something.
Bitch 1. Bitch 5.
Bitch. POS 6.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a Slave 2?
I feel like the
think
name
he
Slave
did,
2 is
dude.
very familiar.
I'm pretty
I don't
sure
remember
he did.
one.
Let's Google
Slave 2. The Slave 2 was a starship owned by Boba Fett after he lost the Slave 1, which he used circa 10 ABY. He bought it for 225,000 credits.
Oh, that's legend stuff, right?
Because he was rolling in credits after he got Han.
Yeah, I don't think it appears in the movies.
Yeah,
No.
that's assuming. So it's not canon yet that he actually it may be canon that he survived the
Yeah, I
Sarlacc
don't know
pit.
if you read his armor at least got out. Because in one of the books, those Aftermath books actually suck, except for the little fucking. They do suck. They're not even like they're not horrible. They're actually the first one sucks. The other two are kind of cool, but you get these little like how a movie will like do a random ass scene of some other unrelated shit that might never even come back to you. That's what those books do. They go off to some random ass like couple of pages talking about some crazy shit. So you see the Knights of Ren, and they're not called the Knights of Ren, but in those books, the Knights of Ren pass by the stomach acid burned Boba Fett armor in some shitty little pawn shop in like Tatooine, and they buy Darth Vader's lightsaber. And I don't know why or how or any relevance after that point. It was so random and nothing ever came of that information. And whatever happened to Darth Vader's lightsaber if they had it? Like, what the fuck? Why didn't Kylo Ren have it? I don't know.
The whole Knights of Ren concept was never fleshed out in any type of reasonable way.
But they
once
mentioned
again, that's for
Boba
our
Fett's Mandalorian armor in that part.
It is a legend story, so it is not officially canon anymore.
Google
still
for
cool.
me Boba Fett's armor after
It's Beskar.
Armor?
It's real Mandalorian armor. It's made of Beskar, I think, right?
I don't know. Unless maybe it was Jango Fett. But Jango Fett wasn't even a Mandalorian. I think Boba Fett and Jango Fett aren't Mandalorian in the sense
He
that
was. Jango was. He wielded the Darksaber for a little bit.
He did?
Jango has a more storied past than Boba. Boba's not a Mandalorian.
Because he's a clone.
Jango was. Jango actually was a part of the Creed. I think Jango had a much.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. That makes okay.
Yeah, Boba just took his dad's armor and has daddy issues and stuff.
Best I can tell, it is real Mandalorian armor that's
technically,
been modified to be green.
That's not even his dad. He's a clone of that dude.
True.
Wait, what?
Boba Fett.
What do you mean what? Dude, they tell you that explicitly in the prequel.
I don't remember it then.
Jango Fett had a clone that he didn't have the genetic shit done to him, so he aged quick. He raised him like a son. It was a clone of himself that he raised like a son.
Oh, I must have known at one point. I completely forgot that fact.
Boba Fett
I thought he was a biological son. Oh, okay.
Don't worry, you'll remember when we go through those.
Yeah, I'm
Dude,
sure.
I can't wait because I actually love the prequels, and to say this about them is, even though there's a lot of aspects that fans can't agree on or don't like about the movies because of the CGI or this or that, it tells a really good story.
Fuck yeah, dude!
It really does. I feel like the story it tells is top tier. Like if you read it as a book, you would be in love with it. You'd be like, this has everything. This is the hero's journey, but with like fucking betrayal and love. It's just a great fucking story.
Yeah, dude. Like if they didn't have the Star Wars moniker on it, people would fucking love those movies.
I love them because they're like a lot of people who are original Star Wars fans grew up with that. That was their childhood movie. But the prequels were for us because Star Wars had been out. But the prequels, we saw them in theaters, That's a big deal to see the big screen Star Wars as a 9, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, that's cool as shit. Even and like Revenge of the Sith, man. Oh, I feel like
I love the first episode when I saw it in theaters. I thought pod racing was the coolest shit I've ever seen.
We all did.
I remember seeing episode 1 in theaters with my dad and being like over the moon about it because I fucking loved Star Wars at that point. My dad was actually more of a Trekkie than anything. He took me to that movie because I wouldn't stop bugging him.
My dad is definitely a closet Trekkie to this day.
Dude, if my dad was around, he would not be a closet fucking Trekkie. That guy was.
My dad is a closet Trekkie. He would watch Star Trek at night, and I always thought Star Trek was the most boring shit as a kid. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Because Star Wars
still do to this day.
Yeah, still do. I still do. But
you know what's funny though? You know what's funny though? Like my dad was also the type of dude where he's like, you love Star Trek so much. Why don't you go to like one of these Star Trek conventions? Like, those fucking nerds. That's not gonna happen.
Right. That's what I mean. Like my dad was a construction worker and shit, so he'd be watching Star Trek, drinking his fucking screwdriver and like getting shit faced, like just watching Star Trek by himself.
Dude, did we have the same dad?
Yeah, I know, right? If hey man, if you ever want to go hang out with my dad,
like he sounds like a spitting image of my dad for real.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were from California, so I'm sure politically there's a lot of differences there.
You might be surprised.
That's true. My dad was like born in Rhode Island, but moved to Florida as a teenager, and I don't know, like he's not a redneck. Like he doesn't have any type of like accent or anything. He's definitely not like he definitely talks more like a northerner, but like as far as voting or ideology, I mean, he's not a racist or anything, but I mean, I guess as any 65-year-old is. But he's
a blue collar man,
He's a blue collar man,
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's
back to the galaxy's best father, Vader.
Yeah, for sure.
So people were kind of put off in Rogue One when Vader had his like snarky lines that he said. Like don't choke on your ambitions, Admiral, when he was talking.
That's such a cool line. Or remember in Rogue One,
I
love that line, and I bring it up because something similar happens in episode 5.
It says don't
when
choke
the captain
on your ambitions, like because he just choked a guy.
That was in episode 4. No, sorry, that was Rogue One is when he said that. Yeah, in episode 5 though, when the captain goes to apologize and then it like the scene transitions to the captain like being force choked. Vader says, "Apology accepted, Captain," and he just dies. Like he always had that kind of humor, those types of lines. So I thought the Vader in Rogue One fit right in canonically with the rest of the representations of him
And
in the
honestly,
original trilogy. I
It's
love it.
funny, man, because like a lot of the things that people bitch about in the sequels, I mean, a lot of it's super justified, but like things like that, ticky tacky type shit, like Luke dying from using the Force projection, and like Vader being kind of a snarky douche and shit like that. Like I'm finding out as we rewatch these movies, like it's actually really very much part of their character.
Yeah, I loved that scene. Like right when Vader said that, I'm like, oh my god, I love this guy so much.
I
Like
think
it's
Vader was
so
voted the
incredible.
best villain ever or something. He like won. Like he really
As well he
is
should
a
be.
great fucking villain, and well he should be. And I would put, I think some of Batman's villains are up there. Like the Joker should definitely be number 2 because like what a psychopath.
Joker's definitely up there, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and,
for
and I
sure.
think I think as far as villains go, Batman and Spider-Man get really cool villains, but Darth Vader is like the one. And when it comes to like conversation with the prequels, if you have the ability to write a prequel, don't make it put plot holes in your shit. Like if you have the ability to make a sequel, I just don't understand like when you have the ability to, like, so when Obi-Wan, when it's already stated that Obi-Wan was trained by Yoda, why the fuck didn't you just make Yoda his fucking master? And I just don't get it. Like you could have
They
rewatched that.
probably
It's like George Lucas didn't rewatch
Actually,
his own movies before he made prequels. He just like,
actually though, doesn't Yoda train the younglings?
I guess he trains everybody in a way. But yeah, I
Because
mean,
like if I remember correctly, there's a scene in episode 2, I think it is, where Yoda is training all the younglings. And if that's the case, then it's not inaccurate to say that he trained
yeah, but it is inaccurate to say
Obi-Wan at some point.
wasn't I, like when Obi-Wan goes, so was I. It's like, no, no, Obi-Wan, you weren't ever.
so
This is not in
I
your
think
Yeah, no,
character.
they
that's
they write the story that they want to write, and they've done this numerous times in Star Wars. They don't forget the past; they just fuzz it up. So
they just
y-
conveniently leave out things that matter.
So I
That's
mean, like
true.
technically, yes, you could say that it still fits in. Yoda probably played some part in his growth as a Jedi. Sure, it's not like you can completely cast out what he said as, oh,
But like what?
that's a plot hole. It kind of fits still.
Like
It
you could
Knowing
also
have just
kind of
said this
works
is an old, because the way they wrote it, the way George Lucas wrote it originally is you think Yoda trained Obi-Wan, but then you have these prequels where this other guy named Liam Neeson fucking was real. Qui-Gon Jinn is probably one of the most popular Jedi ever. He's really badass. He's more like a gray Jedi, but I love the fact that
he's
Qui-Gon. I love Obi-Wan's story and Qui-Gon's story. I love that way more than Yoda training him. Yoda trained Count
Qui
Dooku.
Qui-Gon's got that Boba Fett fame though,
oh
dude.
my
Like he
god,
doesn't do fucking jack shit, but everybody
Yeah, but
loves
if
him
you
anyway.
you're
read the
right.
shit he did. I mean, if you read books, he did do a lot of shit actually.
Yeah, but most of the
I
people that
forgot.
like him aren't into the books and
And
comics
he
and
did
shit like
way
we
more
are.
than Boba Fett ever did because he had a whole movie where he didn't die until the end. So
I guess that's fair. But like it to your point though, like if you're having this discussion with Luke, who you didn't even really get to teach the Force before you committed suicide by Vader.
yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah. Vader assisted
are you really going to
suicide.
go through the entire rigmarole of like, okay, well, back in the day before they killed all of us, there was a bunch of Jedi, and there was this Jedi temple, and then the leader of this Jedi temple was Yoda, and so by kind of the way of things, he sort of was my master. Like you should
Why
just
wouldn't you
trust it,
just
or
say
are you just gonna
there's
be
a
like,
great
this guy
Jedi
taught me?
master who trained all of us? You should. He's
Because he
still
didn't
alive.
Who the?
know.
Because
He
then,
didn't
like, who's he
know.
gonna be? Who's he gonna be like? All of us who? if you're fucking Ben Kenobi, you're like, I'm old, man. I don't want to have this fucking conversation. He's just my master. Just go trust him. He's my fucking master. Okay, it's fine.
Remember when Yoda said, "Oh yes," he's like, "Why do you want to become a Jedi?" And he goes, "Oh, well, my father, I guess." Like he doesn't even really know why. And Yoda's like, "Oh yes, your father, powerful Jedi was he?" He's like, "How could you know my father?" And I love that about that part where Yoda's faking playing this crazy. I mean, I don't know if some of his craziness was legitimate or if he's playing, or I know he's playing this role he's testing Luke's patience. He's not being a jerk and eating his food and doing all just because he's batshit
You're
crazy.
right. Yeah.
He's doing all
Yeah.
this to goat Luke into because he's like, let's see his composure. How is he? I'm gonna stall him. I'm gonna see what he's made of. Like a real Jedi should be patient and polite, and not get like it really shows how quick and easy it would have been for Luke to turn if he's so impatient. It's raining outside right now, and he's trying to go meet this fucking guy. Like, calm down, dude. Let's eat some soup. You know. and 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 to that extent where I brought up before, it really kind of pissed me off how Luke didn't sense the Yeti. He should have sensed Yoda, like big time. He should have been like, "Yo, yeah, that motherfucker is a Jedi."
I think
The
he was just
same.
so off. I mean, maybe he was just put off. And you said yourself that there was a lot of dark side force on that planet. Maybe he just,
Yeah.
he
That's
was just
true.
all
But
scrambled
Luke's
up.
Because like
Luke
he wasn't
sensed that.
trained yet, so he
Lu-
didn't know how to
Feel
Luke
it,
did
yeah.
sense
channel
that
it.
dark side cave. Remember, he's already a little bit trained at this point because we don't know how long they were in Bespin. We don't know how many days of training he got before he left, or if it was months. I don't think they were in Bespin for months, but it's hard to put time on that movie because all the Bespin stuff seems like it's taking place in a couple of days. But when you look at Luke's training, it seems like he's been there for a couple of months because now you see him, he's fucking jacked and he's
Yeah,
lifting stones with his mind on his
that's
one
true.
hand.
True.
And you
And
got Yoda sitting on his foot. Like he's actually
he
comes
brings
leaps
the
and
X-wing
bounds.
up a little bit. Like it's impressive how much he does raise the X-wing.
It's
Not a
so
lot,
impressive that
but
even Yoda was like, "Oh shit, is he
Yeah,
actually
like
gonna?"
he
No, no,
close,
he's
Luke
not.
close.
Luke was very powerful. And then the reason why I bring up him not being able to sense it because Luke is notoriously known for being as or similar potential wise, as force sensitivity wise, as Anakin was. He is Anakin's son. He is very strong with the force naturally. With innate ability, he was a bullseyeing womp rats in his T-16 Skyhopper. Not because he's a really good shot, but because he is very strong with the force
He
naturally. He should have been able to sense
Well,
he
that
thought
Yeti.
he
He
was a
should
good
have been able
shot.
to sense Yoda when he's face to
I'm.
face with him.
I mean, it stands to reason that the son of somebody who was made from pure force energy would be somewhat adept at using the force.
Or at least like maybe because he's untrained, he doesn't know how to clear his mind and do that simple meditation that the Jedi do to open their mind to listening. Because I guess in religion in general, there's a lot of when you're like meditation is about listening, and if you're not listening you're not going to hear anything. So I guess I can answer my own question in saying Luke is too busy trying to talk over Yoda. He's too busy, his mind is never in the moment. So if his mind's never in the moment, he's not going to be able to hear it, he's not going to be able
Hmm.
to sense it, you know. i
Yeah.
Hmm.
guess I guess I'll buy it. So I'll
the
shut up.
The whole sequence on Dagobah also has my personal favorite continuity error, in which Luke has like goes over to sulk behind the tree after he fails to pull up the X-wing, and then when Yoda pulls it back up, he comes around the X-wing and suddenly he's buttoned up his jacket.
Ha.
I was watching that. I was like, oh, he just wanted to look extra dapper when he came around the other side of the X-wing. I
I thought it was
guess.
Well,
I thought it was a weird shot to begin with. Like, okay, you're gonna sulk over here for a few seconds, and then you're gonna immediately stand back up once R2 starts making a scene and come back over. Kind of a
Well,
weird edit.
well, yeah. I mean,
you
R2 is
want
like his
the
little robot dog. When
impossible.
he starts freaking out, you want to see
I
what's
feel
going
like
on.
I feel like Luke, I don't know, or Mark Hamill as an actor he's a great voice actor. He's an amazing voice actor, but I feel like in that scene when he's like, because he's acting against a puppet, you gotta like put your mind like you have to act like you're talking to this real fucking thing, you know. But
Well, I mean,
like
to be
it's
fair,
crazy.
wasn't this like his second role?
Yeah, really, yeah, it really wasn't like he did a lot before this, but
He just didn't do a lot of
like it's
movies
like
in
you want
general.
the impossible, or some of his interactions with Yoda. I'm just like not sold that you're Luke
Mm.
Skywalker. I'm like I'm totally sold interactions when he's talking with Darth Vader sometimes, or when he's interacting with Leia and Han, or even when he's interacting with R2D2. I'm like completely sold. But some of the interactions with Yoda, I just think he had a hard time talking to this puppet. Like
Mm.
That part
that's
And I mean,
too.
just
I think that's fair because, like, I think we've learned over the years that George Lucas isn't the best director.
no. Oh
like,
hell no.
and Mark Hamill was, like we were saying, inexperienced at this point, so him playing off a puppet, which is already very difficult,
Yeah.
was probably not the easiest ask.
Definitely not. But he did really good. I feel like acting wise, he did it. I mean, he is the star, but he does an amazing job in other scenes. And as a voice actor, Jesus Christ, the dude was the Joker, man. Like
Incredible
Yeah.
voice
I will
actor.
never like. I feel like if you're gonna do another Joker movie, fucking cast Mark Hamill, dude. Dude, why not? you know?
So here's something I just thought of though. Remember how you were talking about how there's this theory that Yoda really wanted to train Leia the whole time?
Yes. Yes.
But like at the end of this sequence on Dagobah, he's totally ready to sell Han and Leia up the river, dude.
He
He's
does
like, "No,
say there is
just leave
another.
them to die.
He no,
Just leave them to die."
I think he knew they weren't gonna die, and he to some degree he probably had a feeling, but he does say there is another, and that's been brought up that like it's widely believed that he was talking about Leia, but then someone I was watching like a YouTube video I think, and they were talking about like how could he have meant Leia if he's like you said he was so ready to let them die. How could you
Yeah.
gonna go send a dude to die and they're all gonna and there's a possibility where they all die and that was your other one. They're all so there had to be another right. Like who the fuck else was
Either
out there?
either that
Ahsoka.
or either that or Yoda's like straight lying and
Yeah, yeah.
he can see the future clear enough to know that they'll be fine.
I don't think anybody can because like he said it's always shifting because Anakin he always was trying to see the future and trying to speculate on what to do, but him worrying about how to
Yeah, but
change the future made it happen like it always does
yeah,
in
but
any.
remember that he went to Yoda for mentorship on him, and Yoda was like warning him about seeing into the future, implying like you can do it, but it's not something that the Jedi encourage. In
Right.
other words, like if he's spending all this time on Dagobah, which is just this like breeding ground for the dark side, maybe Yoda is just kind of like turning a little bit gray and embracing some of the
I think
darker sides of the Force.
The Jedi fundamentally are flawed in their ideology, and the only way to be a balanced Force user, because the Force is all about, or the light side rather, is all about balance. The dark side is about passion. So balance, being light side in their ideology is not balanced at all,
No,
really.
it's not.
That's the
So
largest misstep of episode 9, but we can talk about that later.
right. So I think for
Yeah, we sure
balance,
can.
for true balance, for every light side user, you have to have a Sith, right?
Correct.
Right.
Which
So
is
so I
why they talk about how when Kylo Ren was getting stronger, another would come behind him, which is where we got Rey. Not that that's a great excuse for the
dude,
bullshit they
the
pulled in
coolest
those
part
movies,
about
but
episode 9 though is Rey's Force lightning. That was the coolest thing.
no, that was actually one of the worst parts about that movie because that bait and switch pissed me off like nothing else. But again, we'll get to episode 9.
Fair enough.
There's
Fair
so many
enough.
fucking tangents.
I thought it visually looked cool, if nothing
It
else.
was a
Not that
cool
it.
idea that was horribly executed.
Oh, I thought
Um,
Chewbacca was dead and I was like kind of sad.
I knew
That only
that
lasted
they
for
didn't.
30 seconds, though.
Yeah, dude, I knew they didn't have the balls to do it, and they immediately made me feel vindicated.
Dude, they killed Leia in real life.
That's how serious it was.
Wow. Okay. So anyway, you know what was funny to me? Like jumping to Cloud City. Dude, I thought it was fucking hilarious how Lando repeatedly is like, "I had no choice. I had no choice. I had no choice." But then he goes to talk to Vader. He's like, "That wasn't part of our deal. The fuck do you mean, man? Like we
Well,
had a deal here."
Jordan, you mentioned that fucking that Boba Fett brought them all to Bespin, which has got to be true. But also, Lando was like, "They got here right before you came. How the fuck did that happen?" Like,
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
that doesn't make any sense because we know what you said, Jordan, is true. Obviously, Boba Fett tailed him, but there's no way the Empire beat him there. You know,
Like they seem like they're going to Bespin, guys. You should really head over.
you should head to Bespin and have like at least an hour conversation with dude before we get. I mean, just I don't know.
And hide stormtroopers fucking everywhere.
Yeah, and have a full meal sitting on a table with Vader at the end of it. Like it's theatrical. He's just there.
This is very
Fully
theatrical.
enjoying it.
He's such a fucking clown, dude.
Dude, Han Solo blasts him like 3 times, and Vader just puts his hand up and just uses the Force to just eat that shit. Love that.
Doesn't do anything about it. Just like, nope. Nice try.
Was that the
Yeah.
Force or was that his armor?
I think he's not. Dude, you could kill Darth Vader with his guard down easily because he's so fucked up. So
yeah, I don't think
everything
that his
about
armor per se is any better than like a
everything about
stormtrooper's.
Vader is Force. You know, his power comes from his hatred and his pain. And the strongest Sith are injured in some way, like they're maimed, like Darth Malgus from the Old Republic, very Darth Vader like. He took a grenade, I think, or something, and got fucked up. But like the strongest Sith use their pain and hatred for power, and are very powerful. Um, fucking the Emperor is just crazy, fucking strong though. Without any major, I mean,
Speaking, dude, I don't know why like this just popped in my head while you were talking about that, but like, what the fuck is the deal with carbonite? Like, I know you know the answer to this question. You have to know the answer to this question. Like, what the fuck is carbonite? Because like
as an element.
they're worried about carbonite freezing killing Han Solo, which or not Han Solo, Luke, which makes sense to me. But then like they put Han Solo in the carbonite and it has like actually let me back up. So Lando's like, what are you talking about? We use this for carbonite freezing, implying that like you don't put living shit into carbonite.
Right.
But then like they freeze Han Solo in carbonite
As a test.
and there's like
as a test.
as a test. As a test, and then like he comes out and there's all these like life sign readings and shit, and they like look at
right.
like, oh yeah, I mean, he's in hibernation, but like he's fully encased in carbonite. How is he breathing?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about the production of gas mines or why they use it or anything. I have no idea why how they could measure his vitals and shit while he's frozen in that shit, and he should have died. You know, to the
only
best
thing
of
that
my
makes
knowledge,
sense
he
is
should
that
have died.
If not immediately, then after a while, because like, how is he breathing?
I think he was frozen in that shit for a while because I think I said it before,
long enough for Luke to go get a new outfit and a new lightsaber.
It's not a little bit of time between these movies, man. It's like a couple of years between each movie. If you look at Chewie
he was stuck there for
in Return of the Jedi, his fur is longer, noticeably longer. You know?
Well, my assumption was that the carbonite freezing always did exactly that. It froze them. So all your molecules, all your cells were frozen in place. And if you do it correctly, you could actually not damage them, because what happens is if you try and cryo freeze something too slowly, you develop ice crystals in the cells and it destroys the cells. But if you do it rapidly, you can freeze them without developing ice crystals, and you could defrost them, and they could actually
Walt
survive.
Disney's head frozen at Disney?
Probably. Somewhere. People have been frozen, cryo frozen.
I understand what you're saying about flash freezing and shit, but like humans still need air.
Well, no, no,
Like
no,
I
no,
don't
no.
care how fast you
He's
freeze
not.
somebody. If you shut off somebody's neurons in their brain because you froze all of those cells, he's dead, man.
So. I mean, medically, yes, because there's no brain activity, but you can freeze someone if you do it perfectly, and then you could
Is there any
you could
evidence
thaw
of
them
it
out.
working,
No,
Joel?
No,
this is
there's
entirely
not.
super theoretical.
Then
Well, here's
shut
the
the
thing though,
fuck
but it
up.
is
Okay.
it is theoretical and it is possible, and it's just
Possible is not on the table yet. It's theoretical.
animals do
It
it
could
though.
theoretically work.
Some
But
animals
but
do it.
animal hibernation is not the same thing,
Some
dude.
animals freeze themselves.
Which
Like there are.
Yeah,
animals?
but it's not it first of all, it's not the same thing. But
You're
even
right.
if
It's
it
not. It's
was,
not.
humans did not evolve to freeze like that. Those animals did evolve because they live in frozen tundras where they have no other choice.
What I'm
Can I
saying
can I
is
bring back
theoretically it is possible. Oh,
This whole scene on Bespin leads to the best line in all of Star Wars, possibly
the
in
most?
all of
I think the
media.
most misquoted line in all of Star Wars, if not pop culture, is Luke
Definitely that, but
it's no, I am your father, but it gets quoted as Luke, I am your father, which is crazy.
that's true. But I'm not even talking about that line, although that's a
Oh,
great fucking
oh,
line too.
what the fuck?
I'm talking about when Lando is talking to Vader and he's just like, I've altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it
Alter
any
oh
any
yeah.
further.
further, yeah. That
Pray
is
Like,
a
don't
what
cool
a
line.
alter.
fucking badass, dude.
There's some incredible one-liners in this movie. Like
Yeah,
they got a
yeah.
lot of them, man.
It's
Nerf herder came from this one. That
Yeah.
one, the
George
the
Lucas
the
didn't direct that one, and neither did he direct ROTJ. He did
But he did write them.
he wrote them, but different directors, man. I think that I think the reason why there's this movie's so good is because they had a different director, and I think the reason why Return of the Jedi is like you have these fucking stupid ass little teddy bears is because different director. You're not the same. If you had the guy who did Empire do Return of the Jedi, it would have been a fucking different movie. If you had the
I
dude who
do
did
agree with
Empire
that.
do everything after that, I mean, because George Lucas went back and directed the prequels, I believe.
He
If
did.
I'm,
And
yeah, which
I
was
think that's
stupid.
his secret sauce, dude, is like when George Lucas writes something but doesn't direct it, that's when it really comes really soars.
Lucas
Right,
was
and I think
Except
there.
that they
He was
tried to
there.
capture
except
that with the sequels, with the new ones. They tried to like, let's have different directors. I'm like, that's stupid. You should have just had the same motherfucker do all three of them, and there would have been some continuity in there. You know, so they
Well,
left.
the
how
only
about
exception
write
to
a
that is American
story?
Graffiti though.
How about write a story for a freaking 3-part epic before going into it? They clearly didn't have the story written before they walked into the.
Yeah,
Dude, again, the sequels are a whole nother can of worms. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not even
they
ugh.
sort of felt like Star Wars movies, but then they don't. They're like they don't feel like Star Wars movies, right? Like
In the worst
I
way.
don't
I
know.
mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
best.
It's
Yeah.
like how you imagine Star Wars in your head after watching it. Like when we were kids and we didn't have like all these cool lightsaber battles and shit, so we just like imagined it happening.
Right,
And then
that's true.
Mandalorian comes out and shows us how it
Let's
actually
get
is
let's
done.
get to Luke, to that shot of Luke. I think Luke takes a shot at Boba Fett or something. Does he when he gets to Bespin or something, or he sees him? He gets in a little
Oh,
confrontation when he gets
when
there.
yeah, when he's trying to sneak in and Boba Fett walks past and he thinks he's like snuck past him, and then Boba like sneaks back around the corner and starts firing on him.
Yeah, yeah, that's what happened. That was cool.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Boba Fett. See, it's little things like that that I think lead to Boba Fett's popularity
But
because,
like
like, you can
people,
tell that he's a badass,
you
even though
can't.
they don't give
Yeah,
you that.
and I feel like he should have, like, I guess, put up a better fight in Return of the Jedi. But then you got to realize that the skill gap of Luke between being a Jedi, an actual Jedi Knight, and just being this kind of faux Padawan is a huge skill jump. Because the skill jump we see from A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back is huge, and it's even bigger when he's a
Oh,
Jedi Knight,
he walks into Jabba's palace like a badass. Like
like
he
a Jedi
knows
Yeah,
Master.
dude.
he's
Not even
walking out of there with Han.
he goes. And did you guys know? I didn't know this until a couple years ago, but I worked with a guy when I was still at Guitar Center. My operations manager, Kyle, is a huge Star Wars nerd, and he's probably about 10 years older than us. So he saw the prequels with disappointment when he was a teenager or something, or older, like 18 or something. I don't know, but it was his one of his biggest fan theories from back in the day was that Luke was always a Sith all along, because when he goes into the palace, he chokes those fucking pig things. I forget what they're called. He chokes them to death. He doesn't like make them sleep or
Oh
do anything
yeah.
peaceful. He like straight uses force choke on both of them effortlessly. They both die.
Awesome.
That's crazy, right?
So
I
that
forgot
is
about that.
crazy. Like I can't wait until we watch that one.
Yeah.
Um, but circling back, like as cool as that kind of interaction with Boba Fett was, what the fuck is up with that coward ass admiral that Vader has now promoted for the third time? Who's like, oh shit, Luke's firing on me. Let me grab Leia and hide behind her while I skulk away.
I know, right? What a fucking dishonorable
Hey,
piece of shit.
hey, he didn't get choked. That's
Yeah.
As far as we know.
Nita,
that's a
which
good
one was
day.
that? Nita got killed. Who was that? Admiral.
I don't know their name.
I don't remember fucking names.
I
I
don't
I,
remember.
I could have told you yesterday. It was so fresh in my mind. I watched it on my phone. The whole thing. Bluetooth headset.
Also, like, did anybody else notice that like Vader is unusually familiar with the layout of Cloud City?
Oh, I didn't know. I guess yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Like he seems to know exactly where he's going all the time. Like
I
when
know. I
he's
feel like you would get lost in there like a little labyrinth, right?
yeah, dude. But like when he's having it out with Luke and like Luke goes out the window and around the corner and then Vader's just down that hallway
You know what I always thought was
like he beat him
goofy?
there and shit.
You know how he's like throwing those things at Luke and it actually busts through the window? You know how he takes his lightsaber and like puts it down like he's almost using his lightsaber as like some sort of a wand? I always thought that was so
Yeah.
weird. That always like I always watch that and like I laugh. Like I'm like, this guy is the most evil villain ever. He's got so much respect and so much like fear. Like even like in A New Hope, you're afraid of this guy, but then when he's doing that type of shit, I just like I laugh. I just can't take it seriously. Like this fucking motherfucker, he just uses his lightsaber like some sort of like not even like a wand. He's just kind of using it like it's some sort of just like thing. He's just like just
Yeah.
doesn't know what to do with it, you know?
I also thought it was funny how like after that famous no I'm your father line and shit,
Yeah.
Vader's still trying to convince him. He's like, it's the only way.
Do
Luke
you
just
remember?
like looks
Do
at
you
him, looks down,
remember,
is like, no, I'll take my chances, dog, and just jumps
Well,
off.
dude?
I think that during that last part of their fight, after he gets his hand chopped off epically and loses his saber, when they're talking, he reveals that he's his father, and then afterwards he's trying to sell joining him. He's like, we can rule the galaxy together as
Hmm.
father and son.
Yeah, which is
And
cool.
I think Luke would have joined him if not for the one thing that Vader said, that the Emperor knows that you. He said something like the Emperor knows that you can defeat him or that you can bring him down.
Yeah.
Like he tells Luke that the Emperor's foreseen his own demise through Luke, and I think that's what kind of led him. Because after he said that, you see Luke kind of look down, and I think that's when he makes up his mind that he's actually just going to jump and perfectly land into a random ass trash
Oh,
chute.
because he gave him the
Not
confidence
not
that,
only
oh, I
does
make
he
it. I make it through this. Right?
Yeah,
bro,
exactly.
not only did he perfectly land in it, but if you watch the scene, he's falling straight down and then takes a 90-degree turn into that fucking
For
trash chute.
Which I
force.
think opened up for the prequels for the Jedi, because another big complaint about the prequels from that guy Kyle was talking about was like how the Jedi weren't the terribly acrobatic, and I know it's because of like advancements in technology on our end, but like the Jedi, you see them do these crazy force moves like force running Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon do that when they're fighting a droideka in the beginning of episode 1. You see these like crazy jumps and shit, but that opened up that Batman style jump off the building and like live type shit is like very
Yeah.
synonymous with the Jedi. Like when Anakin jumped off the speeder, he just jumps out of the speeder with Obi-Wan, and he just jumps out of it and miraculously lands on that bounty hunters or that assassin speeder in Attack of the Clones. That shit is some Batman shit. Like, what the fuck, Like, so I think
The
that Luke
Force.
doing that opened that up, those doors for them later to like, okay, yeah, the Jedi do this death-defying shit all the time. They're just good at it.
Dude, you know what really fucked me up is right after that when they're talking about boarding the ship and everything, Vader's like, set the blasters for stun. I was like, wait, blasters have a stun function?
So they stole that directly from Star Trek.
Yeah, they sure fucking did. But at the same time, I was like, wait, they never mention this again. What the fuck?
Do they
Yeah.
not? They may not. I don't remember.
They mention it in A New Hope. They mention it. Set your blasters to stun. Is that what you're talking
Do
about?
they?
No, it's the other way around. I think they say like make sure you're not on stun or something like that. I
No,
can't
they set
remember
them
the
to
line.
stun when they stun Leia when they capture her.
Oh,
Remember
and it turns into the rings. The rings
That's a good
hit her.
point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. I don't think they specifically said it's on stun.
I feel like
though.
they
Just
did.
kind
I
of
feel like they did specifically say it. I think he says set your
I mean,
blasters to stun.
I will defer to you, but like I just don't remember.
But you guys just watched A New Hope. I just went and watched Empire like as a standalone movie. Yes, the day before yesterday or something. So like you guys should know better than me. I mean, I haven't watched A New Hope in like 2 years.
Well, in that case, I'm telling you, they didn't say it.
Okay, well I'm gonna go on fucking YouTube in like an hour when we're done.
yeah, right. Also, like, so it's funny because like you were talking earlier about how Mark Hamill got into that accident and shit, and it's funny to me that Jordan, you thought like they just changed the look of the character and shit.
Yeah.
When at the end of this movie, he gets his hand chopped off. And the response to that is to give him an exact replica robot hand.
Immediately. Like, he immediately gets a brand new hand.
No. It wasn't immediately. It seems immediately. But it was obviously months later or some time later.
Yeah, but he just means in, like, the context of the movie. It happens.
Right, in the context
like,
of the movie,
right
it's immediate.
afterwards.
But, like, in time... Because, like I said, the time moves weird. More time passes than is talked about. Just like... In the Bible does that all the time. It's like fucking 900 years went by and they don't even tell you.
Yeah,
but yeah, they time goes by. I think he could have been in the infirmary for a month.
It's hard to tell though, because they don't say it. It's hard to tell.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
But that ending, I mean, what else to say about that ending? We didn't even talk about the Emperor telling Vader, that. It's that it was his son, and then he said that's impossible. Like Vader says it's impossible, even though we talked about the plot hole. How the hell would he not know?
Actually, he didn't say it's impossible. Didn't he say it's like how is that possible?
He said how was that? Yeah, he said that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's what he said. That's what he said.
But like,
but he didn't know that like, Padme's child survived.
Yeah, I feel like given the context of the prequels, his response should have been more like, what the fuck are you talking about? You told me they were dead.
Yeah.
Right. And that's another point that like I made earlier. Like if you have the ability to meticulously watch something to make it like if I was going to make a movie and make this crazy, if I was going to make one of the most iconic, ended up being iconic things ever, and after it's already got some crazy fame, I'm going to be like really meticulous how I put the prequels together, how I put the sequels together. I'm going to be really careful in that, and it's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be. You're not gonna have people going on YouTube and shit arguing about. I mean, I guess it gives us something to talk about, but they're not gonna be tearing it apart this easy. Like I'm gonna have some fucking answers for people, and
Dude, if I was making a movie like that, I would have like 10 people behind me read it and reread it.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. So a guy I work with, his name's Kevin. He's one of the coolest people I ever worked with in my life. I think it was fate that I met him. and that I might have started working at this job years ago just to meet this dude. But he got me involved with some stuff he's making. He's making his own Marvel style cinematic universe, but it's his own thing. It's totally original to, I guess, to an extent, but it's like so deep. Like he'll write a whole notebook worth of stuff, bounce it off of me, and I'll tell him why he's wrong, or I'll tell him some information, and then he'll go back and rewrite it or something. And he likes bouncing stuff off of me, but like I see real potential in that, and it's crazy. I'd love to involve you guys and let you guys read some of his shit, but he's at the point where he hasn't patented, he hasn't like copyrighted nothing. I'm like, you got to do that before you start talking to anybody. Like you shouldn't even talk to me. Like that's how good it is, you know. Telling him it's copyrighted shit, but I digress. George Lucas should be more like Kevin.
I think really at this point, the only other thing that I have to say is just like this movie is like way better than I remembered it being.
Dude, I mean, like I said, when I was a kid, I thought it was boring. Like I would fast
Yeah.
forward to the point where they fight and then movie's over, cool. You know, and I didn't like how, I guess it feels like they're, I don't know, I just didn't, I don't know, that lightsaber fight where they're out when he loses his hand. I don't know, I didn't like the atmosphere they were in, I guess, as a kid. I just didn't like it, but and I loved, I don't know, it was because of the Ewoks why I liked as a kid why I liked Return of the Jedi, but I just didn't really appreciate The Empire Strikes Back for how good it is until I was older. So I was easily in my 20s and watched them all and been like, "Oh, all of these movies are really good." A New Hope is really good in its own right because of just the story it tells and how like it's just like they don't make movies like that anymore. Movies are like are faster paced nowadays, and a lot can be said about setting the tone, setting the mood, you know, personification of other things like with the robots and the other creatures, and then you have this really good you get a lot of foreshadowing in Star Wars, you know.
It's got a lot of great
Yeah.
subtleties to it. I mean, I think Episode 5 is the best Star Wars movie.
We'll
I'd
see
be
if that
interested.
changes as we keep going.
I was just gonna say I'll be interested to see what my opinion is going to be after finishing them all again. I think it's going to remain the same, but my list may change.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm still going to think 5 is the best, but my order will probably change.
I think if episode 4, 5, and 6 aren't in the list, then why are you even making a list?
I'm saying all of them.
That said, it should be a list that is more than 4. It should be like a top 5 or a top 6. You know,
I mean, I'll put
there's
them
so
all in
many
order.
of them.
I mean, I've got a list for I have a list for all of them right now. So, I might actually.
What is that list? Tell me that list, Jordan. What does that look like for you right now?
I'll give you the top 5 because I don't want to sit down and really think about it.
That's fine.
Right now, my top 5 I think is going to be 5.
Okay.
Rogue One.
Okay.
And then just movies. Okay, so yeah, just movies. Then I would have to say 4.
Okay.
And then probably 6 and then 3.
I was gonna say
3.
Revenge of the Sith is gonna be up there for me because of because of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think because that's the best Obi you get, and I think as an Obi-Wan fan, I would be lying to myself if I didn't put Revenge of the Sith. He kills General Grievous with a blaster. That's cool.
He sure does. So what does that list
and he
look
goes
like?
So uncivilized. He says.
Matt, what's your top 5? Do you know it?
Top 5. I'm gonna go. I couldn't put them in an order of which one I like the best, but I would say the ones I like the best out of all of them, and no particular order of which one I like of these number one, but like 4, 5, and 6, and then it has to be 3, and then it has to be it's got to be Rogue One. I gotta put Rogue One in the top 5 because Rogue One was good, but I'm not gonna put Rogue One that I liked. Everything I said before Rogue One, I like better than Rogue One. But Rogue One, I probably like it better than Episode 1, 2, and 7, 8, and 9 for sure.
So I'm gonna fuck your shit up here, because like if I had to make that top 5 today, I think I would say 5, then 4, which I can't believe that just came out of my mouth.
I think A New Hope's going to be my number 1, to be real with you guys, because of the nostalgia for me, and it was the original Star Wars movie, and it was the first one I really fell in love with. I think 4 is going to be the number 1 for me, honestly.
And I say today because like right now I'm really high on episode 5, but as I kind of sit and marinate on it, that might change back because
If you
episode
take
4 has
the
been my
Ewoks
favorite one in
and
the
make them more
franchise for a long
vicious,
time.
if you take the Ewoks and make them not cute, Return of the Jedi would be way different and like cooler.
Yeah.
You know, they tried to appeal to the kids, and they just scared a bunch of kids shitless.
Yeah. So I would say today I would say episode 5, then episode 4, then Rogue One, then episode 1,
Episode 1 is good though. Darth Maul is cool. There's no arguing that
and
Darth Maul is not a G. So
I'm telling you, dude, episode 1's got pod racing, it's got Darth Maul, it's got
if you
Qui-Gon
can kill
Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn, and that being said, he killed him because of a difference in lightsaber style. Qui-Gon Jinn just didn't have the defense. That's why the reason why Obi-Wan got so good at Form 3, was it Form 3 he was good at? Either Form 3 or Form 2, one of the
I think it was
whatever
Form
form he
3.
was like masterful at, which I embarrassed. I don't just fucking I think it was Form 3. It was because watching his master die for not having a good enough defense, he focused solely on defense, and all of his training went towards that form. Soresu, I believe it's called. Soresu.
What's your
And
fifth?
then if I was going to round out the top 5, then it would probably be 6. But man, those Ewoks are rough. It's either 6 or 3. I would have to think about it.
We're all pretty close in our top 5. We are.
I feel like Return of
the
the
only
Jedi.
real curveball is
I
that
could
I
forgive
threw
I could forgive the Ewoks much more than I forgive some of the shit that they did in the sequels.
You know?
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
You know a movie?
The sequels are like orders of magnitude worse than the original 6 movies.
And it's crazy because they had so much potential to be the best ever. And how do you shit the bed? How do you shit the bed when you have Marvel?
This is what I was talking about. Like, I remember when we all went to see episode 7 and you guys were talking about how fucking great that movie is, and I saw that bullshit for what it was. I was like, this is going to be awful.
I still like 7 a lot.
Awful. 7 was the framework for all the bullshit that they did afterwards, man.
I may like 7 more than 1 and 2.
And I would be interested to see if that changes, because I feel like probably will.
You know what?
Dude,
one Star Wars movie that I think
if you take those prequels, I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you take those prequels for their story, they tell a way better story than the sequels even fucking come close to telling.
I mean, episode 7 is almost its own story.
It's kind of debatable because
like
episode 7 is just episode 4 again. So
yeah,
maybe episode 7 debatably tells a better story, although it's the same one that's already been told, so not really.
So, yeah, but episode 4 does it better because of
way
like
better.
that old
way better.
like episode like I don't know, man. If you watch some of those older movies, they had to be written good. For a sci-fi movie, your effects suck. You know, like you got toys. You got toys being done around on strings for ships. You know, I mean, you had to have a good story. You had to have good acting. You couldn't rely on effects. And now, obviously, they relied too heavy on effects in the prequels, but that'd be Attack of the Clones gets a lot of shit. But Obi-Wan fights Jango Fett, and the whole
I can't wait to get to episode 2, because like
episode 2 was good.
Even as somebody who staunchly defends the prequels, like episode 2 is the one where I'm like, I can't really defend this fucking movie.
Dude,
so I'll be interested to see if I rewatch it if that changes.
I think Attack of the Clones gets too much hate.
I think you might be right.
It looks better in the light of 8 and 9. That's for damn sure.
Fuck yeah, it does.
It does, dude. Dude, that small battle on Camino in the rain between Obi-Wan and Jango Fett even though it's short lived, it's a good fight. It's a scrap. Like, it's a scrap, man. Obi-Wan,
a movie
they
that
go
I
hand
think,
to hand.
So a movie that I think is going to be a silent killer for me, that's actually going to crawl up my list, I think is Solo. I think when I rewatch Solo again, I think I'm going to like it a lot more the second time.
I didn't hate.
We'll
I've
see,
seen it.
dude,
I've
because
seen
I
it
really
twice.
didn't like Solo all that
I've
much.
seen it twice already, and I actually, I don't know. I mean, as far as it goes ahead, it's. I didn't like that Chewie was eating people, but I guess if you're starved, but I mean, because he's such a
I
smart,
loved that.
sentient being, I didn't like that he was like
He was
like how could any sentient being eat another sentient being? You know,
because he was being tortured. Like, dude, humans do terrible shit all the time. He was being tortured, and his only food source was the prisoners they threw down there for him to eat. It's miraculous enough that Han got out of there. But I think when I rewatch that, because I've only watched it once actually, I think when I rewatch it, I think I'm actually gonna love it. I am.
it's actually good. I think
And the
it's
most
good.
badass ending, fucking Darth Maul, dude. Come on.
Darth Maul, I don't know. I don't think he should have survived. I kind of hate
It's
that he
canon.
survived that.
It's
Really.
canon. Yes, Obi-Wan will kill him.
I hate that it's canon. But Obi-Wan ends up killing him in that show Rebels. Old Obi-Wan kills Darth Maul in like a one move. Like Darth Maul confronts him in Tatooine. Obi-Wan is such a master that he kills him almost like as like I don't know. He's just so masterful with a lightsaber. It's a really good scene. You should YouTube it. Obi-Wan kills Darth Maul. Star Wars Rebels. It's fucking cool. It's very quick. Almost like let's fight, and then Obi-Wan just kills him. It's like what the fuck.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna have a lot to kind of look forward to and look back on as we keep going. But is there anything else that you guys wanted to say about episode 5 before we wrap up here?
Loved it. That's it.
No, I think that's it, man.
It's the GOAT. It's a GOAT.
Yeah, man. But with that, we will call it for this week. And until next time, have fun out there, guys.